Hello, wanderer. Settle into the hush that lies between your thoughts and the night. Imagine the plain of Eurotas stretched beneath a moon washed as pale as river stone, and far beyond it, the dark ribs of the Tigidus range guarding every dream, ever whispered inside Sparta's walls. Let your breathing find the slow cadence of those mountains, solid, ancient, entirely unmoved by the rustle of time. Tonight we do not march beneath bronze and crimson. Tonight we drift like spring mist through the silent courtyards where torches have burned down to stammering coals. If your eyelids feel heavy, trust them. Darkness is never a foe here. It is the softest cloak a warrior can earn. Before we begin, if these quiet journeys please you, offer a simple gesture of approval, no more than the nod of a lantern flame, and know that each faint spark brings another tale to life. Now draw one unhurried breath, then another, allowing the air to move as quietly as a cloak across polished hopland wood top picture. If you will, a narrow stone lane, cool to the touch even after the scorch of daylight. The houses stand shoulder to shoulder, built from the same rough limestone that once echoed the marching of Leonidas' sons. Tonight those stones echo nothing. They merely wait, patient as the earth, while crickets stitch silver thread through the silence dot at the lane's end rests. A tall cedar door. It yields without protest and swings inward on leather hinges. You step into the communal sleeping hall of the agōgē. No bed frames, no pillows, only shallow pallets stuffed with straw and sweet wild lavender picked from the riverbanks. A single oil lamp flutters near the beam. Its glow is as fragile as a baby rabbit's heartbeat. The young trainees already lie curled upon their rough blankets, limbs slack after hours of training under a sun that showed no mercy. Their breath rises and falls in seamless unison, like the rhythmic tilt of shields on parade. You sink to the floor beside them. The reeds inside your straw mat sigh beneath your shoulders, releasing a faint scent of summer fields. Warm air climbs from the lamp and persuades a strand of loose hair to tickle your cheek. You feel the gentle weight of that moment settle around you, as though an invisible tutor has pressed a calm hand upon your brow. No one will shout orders now. The only sound is breath, steady as the flow of the Eurotas under. Winter iced at outside the open window slit. A distant dog barks once, then chooses silence. Beyond that, nothing moves except ideas of movement. The memory of a spear dipping toward an imaginary enemy. The phantom hum of a bowstring that will not be drawn until dawn. Your mind notes these impressions the way a river records stones hidden. Beneath its surface, knowing and forgetting at the same time. Look upward, where beams of seasoned cypress cross above your head. They hold the roof as easily as seasoned veterans hold a line, and from each one hangs a single leather thong, the mark of discipline's ever-present gaze. Yet tonight even discipline sleeps. The straps sway almost imperceptibly, tracing slow. Arcs that mimic the passage of constellations over Laconian sky. Draw another breath, in, out, slower still. Feel how each exhale loosens the lacings of your invisible cuirass. A Spartan never unbuckles armor by day, but in this night you may set every clasp free. Allow your shoulders to widen and melt, as though they were shields laid flat upon summer. Grass. Allow your jaw to soften, releasing every word you chose not to speak. Along the hall's edge, someone has placed a small wooden basin filled with water from Amyclean springs. It reflects the lamplight in trembling ribbons, and each ribbon slides across the ceiling like pale serpents of gold. You watch them glide until watching becomes dreaming, and dreaming becomes the dim memory of listening. Somewhere in the distance, the temple of Artemis Orthia creaks under the mild strain of night wind, its ofrendas breathing out faint prayers made of honey and goat's milk. Those prayers drift as you drift, toward the valley where little orchards shine in moonlight like rows of quiet shields. If thoughts arrive about tomorrow's drills, About road dust stuck between your sandaled toes, place each on an invisible spear and plant that spear upright in the hall's hard earth. Let the thoughts stand guard for you. They will be honored to serve through the night while you surrender to stillness. Now, wanderer, imagine a hand tracing gentle circles between your shoulder blades, circles so vast they become rings rippling. Across a wake, each ring rides outward, carrying tension away from muscle, away from bone, until it spills into the open air and vanishes. Feel the quiet that remains, a quiet wide enough to fit the entire Peloponnesus, yet intimate enough to cradle a single heartbeat. Breathe again, slowly. Hear how the straw underneath you echoes that breath with a faint rustle, each tiny sound, a small chorus joining you in rest. Somewhere beyond the sleeping city, a night bird releases a liquid note. It floats through the dark like a single pearl cast into black velvet. It reaches the window slit, slips inside, and settles on your eyelids, cool and perfect. Under its weight, your eyes close, and the hall dims into deeper shadow. There is no hurry in Sparta tonight. The night is long, and memory itself lies down beside you. In the unmeasured darkness, the deeds of tomorrow wait without demand, the votive. Banquets of future victories remain untouched, and every spear tip finally lowers toward the earth that bore it. Listen for that final hush, the moment when the lamp sputters in gratitude and quiets. Let that silence be the threshold of your own dreaming. Continue to breathe as the young warriors breathe. Continue to rest as the mountains rest. The plain of Eurotas will see new glory with sunrise, but its voice is mute now, and your heartbeat is the only drum permitted to sound. Feel how softly it plays, tapping out the oldest rhythm, the rhythm of being watched over, of being safe. Remain within. This safety. Wander wherever the night invites, whether among the olive groves that sparkle under moonlight, or within the pale corridors of dreams yet unnamed. Know that each step you take in that silver country brings you further from daylight's burdens, and nearer to the sweet oblivion that waits just beyond the next gentle breath. Sleep, traveler, as even Sparta sleeps. Far off, the river murmurs of myths, of fleet-footed maidens racing beneath garlands, of kings whose bronze helmets once mirrored the dawn, of distant wars whose echoes have at last agreed to rest. You do not need to follow those tailies. They are satisfied to drift downstream without witness, but you may watch them pass like faint lanterns bobbing on water. Each glow slips gently over liquid dark, hemming your senses with a calm so profound that time itself unlaces its sandals and walks barefoot beside you. The air cools a single degree. You notice it not with skin, but with spirit, as though your thoughts were leaves stirred by hidden eddies. They turn once, twice, then settle. In that settling, you discover the rarest silence, a silence that belongs exclusively to those who have endured the day's labors and now claim their reward. Reward is simple. It is permission to do nothing, to be nothing, to let every shield of identity soften into formless silver cloud. Hold that permission carefully, like a shard of polished obsidian reflecting moonlight. Let it deepen the dark behind your eyes. Perhaps a fragment of song drifts from a distant courtyard full of voices, weaving a lullaby older than any legion. The language is unknown, yet meaning arrives clearly. Rest, rest, rest. The melody brushes past you, leaving a faint scent of wine and pomegranate seeds. A promise that moments of sweetness will await tomorrow's waking. Stay with this promise. Stay with the hush. Stay until words themselves dissolve into a gentle blur, until breath becomes tide, until tide becomes sleep. The hush that steadies your heart has not yet loosened its fingers, even as the first silver threads of morning slide across the timbers overhead. Somewhere in the darkness, a cock lifts its head but thinks better of announcing the dawn. The night is too sweet, too thick with the promise of unbroken rest. Let it reconsider. Let it swallow its cry. Within the agōgē hall, the young warriors still breathe in gentle synchrony, and you lie among them while the final embers of the oil lamp curl upward like ghosts whose only ambition is to vanish. But another rhythm is calling, the muted, disciplined footfall of a century-shifting weight from one calf to the other atop the eastern wall. Spartans measure daylight not by rooster and sun, but by the moment the guard changes, when one set of eyes surrender their watch to a fresh pair, sharper, for the long sleep still ringing in their blood. You feel that summons flicker behind your ribs, and you answer without resistance. Not yet rising, merely imagining the motion, you notice that every joint seems to float on cold water. Picture yourself folding back the light wool blanket, whose faint scent of bay leaf now clings to your fingers. Nothing in the hall protests your leaving. Straw sighs, boards murmur, and the door groans no louder than a father stroking the hair of a child too drowsy to notice. Outside, the corridor accepts your bare solace with the mild chill of polished limestone. You walk as one might glide through, water moving without ripple, parting the darkness by your presence alone. Ahead blooms a square of bruised violet sky, framed by the fortress gate. The archway's threshold is scored by thousands of nailed sandals. Yet this morning, even the stone appears half dreaming, its edges smoothed by twilight, its voice subdued beneath dew that gathers like breath along a mirror. You step through, and the air greets you with the fragrance of pine, resin cooling after midnight fires, a scent so clean that each lungful feels like a new beginning folded into the old. The rampart above waits in near silence. To reach it, you ascend a stair so narrow that a shield would graze both walls. Yet you carry no shield, only the quiet that trails behind you. With every step, the faintest creak nestles against the timbers, less a sound than a memory of sound. A leaf turned underfoot months ago, but still remembering its crunch. When you emerge onto the walkway, the valley of the Eurotas lies spread out below, a gray sea of mist lapping gently at orchards and grain fields. Mountains stand guard on every horizon, their shoulders brushed with the palest ash, as though they too have just awakened and have not yet chosen whether to remain still. The sentry you replace is little more than a silhouette, spear butt planted, cloak drawn tight. You approach and exchange no words. Spartans instruct their young to speak sparingly at dawn, the hour when the mind sits most open to the gods. Instead, he nods once, touches 2 fingers to his breastbone in silent respect, and sinks down the stairs you have just climbed, vanishing as quietly as your own prior self might now appear in memory. You are alone, but truly you are never alone upon this wall, for the wind is a patient companion, and the valley a choir of soft voices conserving their strength for midday dot stand here a moment longer. Rest your forearms upon the parapets. Chilled stone, hear the tiny hiss it makes as your body heat embarks on its slow pilgrimage into granite. With every exhale, steam feathers from your lips and dissolves, and for an instant you become the hill, fog weightless, untethered. Free you roam the folds of land below, before rising into the pale lavender sky dot. In that vast hush you notice things, otherwise lost to daylight's chatter. A single owl, overdue for sleep, circles twice above the barracks roof, and drops into the shadows with a last indignant squeak. Farther east, the dark mass of olive groves rustles, not with wind, but with doves adjusting their wings. Beneath you, inside the city, an unseen baker coaxes coals into flame. The aroma of charred oak drifts upward, threads itself through pine. Lavender and the metallic whisper of distant water wheels, then weaves into a tapestry of fragrance so delicate it feels imagined. You close your eyes, trusting your other senses to watch. The spear borrowed for this shift rests across your palms, its shaft cool and smooth, but showing faint nicks, reminders of parades and drills. You tilt it, allowing the bronze tip to greet the fine light rising over Parnan's peaks. That. First glimmer skims along the metal like a swallow's wing before settling into a muted glow. Even the spear is sleepy. Even the bronze, that war-hungry metal, chooses mercy at dawn. Breath continues its measured labor, unhurried, unforced. Every so often, a deeper sigh escapes you, the body's way of dropping anchors deeper into tranquility. Each sigh seems to whiten the morning, as though space were made of cloth stretching gently over your ribs. With eyes half closed, you sense how the valley exhales in perfect timing. It is impossible now to decide whether your lungs echo the land, or if the land echoes you, yet the question itself is restful, like solving a riddle after the answer has already walked home to sleep. Memories drift across your thoughts, but none arrive fully formed. One shows a bronze flute, its notes meandering through dusty courtyard arches. Another reveals the ruddy bark of a plane tree, where someone once carved a name you cannot read. These fragments do not tug or startle, they simply light upon your mind as moths might light upon fabric, trembling once, then still. Where they alight, they leave the faintest warmth, a sense of belonging that grows deeper precisely because it demands nothing. Consider how distant battles must look from here, not as clamor and terror, but as faint curls of smoke drifting over. A horizon you can cover with one finger. Wars shrink beneath such altitude, and so do burdens, doubts, the day's list of obligations. Hold up one invisible finger now, if you wish, and watch every looming worry contract into a wisp so thin that the rising sun burns it clear away. Below, a goat bell jingles one bright note, and then silence reasserts itself, softer than before. Perhaps you remember that you're supposed to count heartbeats during watch, the old disciplinarian trick to remain alert. You begin, but each count arrives slower than the last, until the numbers themselves stretch into gentle distances, highways for dream carriages to travel. Before long, the sequence of counts loses meaning. What remains is the rhythm, the easiest drum in the world, the one already inside your chest dot. Your gaze lifts again to the peaks. A bloom of light touches the snow caps, and where it touches, color awakens. First muted rose, then shy apricot, then bold gold. The transformation is gradual but unstoppable, like water heating on a quiet hearth. Feel its warmth approach, not on your skin, but in your thoughts, turning everything more fluid, more forgiving. Let it glaze your intentions with tenderness, all. At once, the tiniest breeze slips in from the west, carrying with it the distant fragrance of time crushed beneath shepherd sandals. It passes through your hair, across your brow, and around the spearhead, leaving it shimmering in fresh brightness. That breeze plays no recorded song, yet you hear music, perhaps the memory of alloy, perhaps simply the harmony of air sliding through narrow streets. Whatever tune it is, it belongs to you now, settling behind your sternum like a votive flame down in the city. A child laughs in sleep, unaware that her voice has flown up to the ramparts. You catch it, store it, let it echo once through the hollows where fear might have hidden. Nothing fearful lingers. Even the eventual sun rush, even the training field's cries, even the clatter of wooden practice swords, their ghosts wait politely upon the linen threshold of midday. This hour belongs to hush, to half wakefulness, to the deliberate softening of every edge you carry. Lean the spear gently against the parapet. Close your eyes fully. Let your hands lace together, knuckles warming against one another. Nothing in Sparta forbids a guard to pray in silence, and nothing forbids a dream. So pray if you wish, or dream if you prefer. The difference perhaps lies only in the angle of the head, or a single slow breath. Imagine now a road of crushed quartz, winding from the city gate all the way to Judeo, its pale stones catching sunrise like scattered embers. Picture the shimmering reflection dancing in every dewdrop. Think of travelers who will tread that road at midday, merchants, envoys, simple farmers, each footstep rewriting the dust. Then watch an invisible wind erase those steps as evening deepens, readying the road for new stories. Everything is motion and rest, and you stand precisely at their meeting point. Feel how natural it is to sway there, balanced out another deep breath. The owl from earlier has found its roost and closed its eyes. The goats have begun their climb toward hillside pastures, bells clinking rarely to keep each other within comforting reach. Even the crickets have chosen stillness, content to let birds assume the chorus later on. These agreements of silence are everywhere, proof that the world prefers peace when given the option. Accept that preference. Allow it to become yours. Your eyelids grow heavy once more. You have not abandoned your post. Rather, you have mastered it, joining the valley's vigilant calm. A guard may close her eyes if her spirit sees farther than sight, and your spirit now ranges across every olive grove, every river bend, every sleeping hearth. It keeps watch, and it dreams. A harmony older than shields or kings that hold that harmony, as the sun's rim finally peaks above the mountain wall, painting the mist with luminous iron. Let your final conscious breath this morning echo the valleys. Enormous exhale. In that breath, know that discipline can be soft, that strength can look like gentleness, that even Sparta bows before the quiet power of dawn. Should your thoughts attempt to rise and march, remind them the watch is well kept. The city safe, the day will wait its turn. Lower them like unused spears into the armory of sleep. Feel the warmth on your brow. Feel the stone beneath your arms. Then feel neither. The warmth dissolves into air, stone into cloud, and you dissolve with them, carried on the tide of slow. Light toward the sweetest oblivion, sleep, sentinel. The valley will remember you, and when you wake, dawn will already know your name. The sun has climbed only a spear length above the eastern ridge, yet the hush that cradled the valley at dawn still lingers thinned and golden, like honey warmed upon a hearth. You descend the rampart with unhurried steps, each footfall a soft whisper against the cedar treads, each breath carrying the faint sweetness of time and distant wheat chaff. The spear you bore is returned to its rack, standing among its silent brothers, and you offer it a final touch of gratitude, as though bidding farewell to a fellow traveler who must linger in waking while you drift again toward dream. Narrow arcade guides you westward through the city. Its columns are Doric but delicate, capitals weathered to the color of almond milk. Shadows fall in precise bands across the marble floor. Cool ribbons you cross like stepping stones on a summer stream. In one such band you pause, letting the day's first true warmth pool along your shoulders. It gathers slowly, sun spills through the colonnade, an invisible libation poured for every silent hero interred beneath these streets. You taste that warmth on the rim of each breath, and with each exhale you surrender one small memory of toil. Calloused palms, bruised shins, red dust caked on sandals. They drift upward like loose feathers and vanish beyond the roof beam. Ahead lies the palestra, the training ground where youth will soon hammer the silence with staff and shield. You pass its threshold not to join the clamor, but to borrow its sweet anticipation, that brief interval when sand still lies unscarred, and the whisper of shoe leather is the loudest sound in the yard. Fresh chalk rests in a clay bowl beside. The entrance. You run a finger through it, feeling its cool crumble, imagining how it will soon paint palms white, then rise as clouds under every leap and tumble. Yet for now it sleeps, pure and untroubled. Turn from the palestra before the spell breaks. Drift south, following the cool corridor of plane trees that flank the erodas. Their branches mesh overhead, weaving a leafy hall whose ceiling hums with unseen doves. A paved path threads between their dark trunks, stones smoothed by centuries of pilgrim footfall until they shine like river stones. You step barefoot upon them, and the polished surfaces accept your weight with the polite indifference of old confidants. They have carried thousands. They will carry thousands more, but at this hour they belong solely to you. The river meets you in gentle stages. First a hush of wind sliding over reeds, then the muted gurgle of water negotiating pebble shoals. Finally, the clear voice of a ripple catching sunlight like shattered glass. You kneel at the bank. Coolness climbs your shins, swirling silk around each ankle. The current is languid. It folds and refolds the morning like soft linen. Dip one hand inside. Threads of chill run along your skin, diffusing heat, persuading. Send you to unclench. Lift your cupped palm and watch droplets fall back, silver beads colliding with their own reflections, becoming circles that widen, merge, disappear. Each concentric ring seems to erase another faint echo of duty orders barked 2 days past, the memory of bronze striking bronze, the sting of sweat in an unshielded eye. One by one, those echoes dissolve, until only the river's patient monologue remains. A fisherman's skiff floats some distance away, its oars shipped, its owner fast asleep beneath a faded cloak, straw hat tilted over his brow. The boat drifts where the current wills, grazing patches of yellow iris that bow politely and spring back. There is trust in such drifting, a contract between sleeper and river, each vowing not to betray the other. You watch the skiff idle, carved prow, nodding like an elder, listening to forgotten songs. Then your gaze returns to the bank where a cluster of smooth stones lies half buried in sand. You choose one, flat and dark, warm already from sunlight. Its weight fits your palm as though shaped for it. Place the stone now upon your sternum and lie back among the reeds. The earth under you is pliant, scented with damp loam and crushed mint leaves. The stone presses mild gravity into your chest, a steady reminder to breathe deeply yet slowly, matching stone to rib, rib to earth, earth to heartbeat dot above. The canopy shivers in a passing breeze, scattering coins of light that flicker across. Your closed lids. Those flickers paint uncertain constellations familiar yet unnamed. You imagine them as maps to lost Spartan tales, stories spoken once beside campfires, then surrendered to smoke. One spark outlines the helmet profile of a nameless warrior. Another traces the curve of a bow unstrung. A third knots itself into a symbol you cannot read, but somehow understand. Rest, rest, rest. Time sheds meaning. Perhaps a minute passes, perhaps an hour. The river keeps no clocks, and neither do you. In that interval, sparrows descend, pecking gently at the damp sand near your heel. One bird hops onto a reed stalk, the reed bows, and both bird and stalk nod in courteous greeting before the bird lifts away, wings stitching quiet through brighter air. Their departure leaves behind a hush deeper than silence, a hush so complete it feels solid, as though you might lift it like linen and wrap yourself within its folds. Just when you believe the world has surrendered all sound, a new murmur arrives, the faint metallic chant of hammers beyond the hill where blacksmiths labor at Sparta's border. It is not the clang of war's appetite, but the measured hymn of craft. Hammer strikes anvil, iron replies, both pause. The pause is long enough for the song of a lark to fill the void, then another strike, another reply. The pattern is hypnotic, a lullaby in iron, promising that every blade bears a rhythm before it bears an edge. From this distance, the hammerfall is soft by wind and scattered by willow leaves, transmuted into something almost watery. You listen, and the ringing aligns with pulse, aligning again with breath, forging an internal metronome that slows inevitably towards stillness. Let thoughts arrive as iron ingots delivered to that distant forge, heavy, finite, inert. One thought, the weight of tomorrow's march. Another, the uncertain favor of a stern instructor. Another, the dim ache at the hinge of the left knee. Accept each ingot without reluctance, but do not linger upon any. Instead, imagine the smith's tongs, lifting them piece by piece into the fire. Hear the hiss as cold metal accepts flame. Watch the dull gray bloom honey, orange, then white. In the whiteness, the ingots lose identity. They soften, melt, become formless light. The smith lifts his hammer not to shape, but to air cool, dispersing spark into invisible constellations. These sparks drift upward, join those earlier flickers upon your eyelids, and where they gather, they weave a veil impervious to worry. A cicada calls from the opposite bank, voice rasping like a dry whetstone. It builds slowly, a long draw of breath, a rapid pulse, then surrender. Its cadence seems to measure heat itself, singing the warmth higher, then announcing its own satisfaction. With each cycle, the pause that follows grows longer, softer, giving you permission to match its rest. By the third cycle, you no longer separate call from pause. The two fuse into a single gentle thrum, like palm upon heartbeat. Somewhere upriver, a shepherd's flute takes up a tune so distant it arrives as mere shape of melody, hollowed of all but contour. It resembles the lullaby of Chapter 2's early. Sentinel, but here, under open sky, the notes carry more light, less mystery. They wander above the trees as would a lazy bee, sampling scent without urgency. They settle briefly upon the fisherman's hat, stir one tangled lock of your hair, then dissolve into wind, leaving only a shimmer of calm where pitch once floated. You shift slightly. The stone upon your chest slides but does not fall. It's new. Position presses gently upon your heartbeat, encouraging it downward along the scale of peace. Adagio, largo, then still slower. Every chamber of the heart seems to widen, as halls do when columns are set further apart. Blood moves unhurried through corridors newly spacious, red currents reflecting morning light in languid swirls. You feel the same cool wideness within. The school thoughts do not bounce or clash, they drift. Some drift out. The head now is a silent atrium where swallows might choose to nest. Clouds gather above, delicate as scraped parchment, shading sun, just enough to lay a second hush across. The valley. The breeze shifts direction, bringing from the north the aroma of figs warmed on branches, sap bubbling faintly through their purple skins. Sweetness trails behind, lingers, settles on tongue and memory. It thickens breath in a pleasant way, as honey thickens tea. You swallow once, and the sweetness remains, coating throat with an invisible balm. Now open your inner eye, the one residing behind thought, and see the entire valley as a single great amphora tilted gently sideways. From its mouth pours light, slow and viscous. Everything it touches, river, grove, city wall, becomes amber, caught forever in a quiet moment. You too are inside that resinous glow, suspended between waking and sleep, preserved in peace. Nothing required, nothing denied. If sleep draws near, allow it. Should the warm stone slip toward earth, allow that as well. Its small thud will be no louder than a pine cone meeting death. You may follow the stone downward or float upward after the clouds. Both paths curve into slumber, looping back at twilight to deposit you gently where duty calls. For now, choose neither path consciously. Instead, remain upon the threshold, breathe, listen, let the morning practice patience. Soon enough the palestra will erupt, sand will fly, chalk will rise, and laughter mixed with shouts will claim the valley's silence. Let the valley save its breath for that hour. Until then, you carry its silence safely inside your ribs. Guard it the way a lamp guards flame, by holding still, by accepting darkness, by refusing hurry. Should thought return one last time, greet it as friend, show it the glimmering surface of the river. It will gaze, become entranced, and slide quietly out of mind. In the space it leaves, place one last deep inhalation. Hold it, feeling ribs broaden like doors opening into a temple. Release it, feeling the doors drift shut again, seals aligning. With perfect ease, beneath the hush the earth spins. Beneath the spin, deeper hush. Slip now toward that deeper hush. The river accepts the weight of your breath. The sky accepts the shape of closed lids. The valley accepts the drift of idle thought. The city accepts the trust of a sentinel at rest. All things accept, and in that acceptance is perfect safety. Sleep, traveler, under the plane trees, beside the patient Eurotas, while morning itself pauses to dream of noon. Mid-morning settles over the valley like a calm verdict, and the hush of dawn ripens into a luminous drowse. Light pours freely now, yet still nothing hurries. Not the river, not the leaves, not even the young warriors arrayed upon the practice field. They move, Jespers circling in measured sparrings, sand puffing beneath bare heels, but their motions flow as slowly as ornate calligraphy traced upon an old scroll. Every lunge, every parry seems designed less to clash than to breathe. You watch from the shade of a monumental plane tree. Its branches stretch so wide that they recall the wings of a heron gliding low over marsh reed. Here, beneath that living canopy of green, you feel no desire to record the drills in perfect memory. Let them flicker before your half-lidded gaze like scenes glimpsed through gauze. A spear tip glints, a calf flexes, chalk flies and settles, and the moment drifts past, cradled by cicada drones that have awakened with the warming day. Those drones weave a sonic shawl across the entire ground, muffling the sharpest footsteps, softening the gruff corrections of instructors into distant thunder far behind the hills. Even reprimands submit to the quiet, the tree trunk at your back. Breathes an ancient odor of sap and ironstone. Bark furrows cradle your spine. You fit into them like water-shaped river rock, and each small shift of muscle releases a hidden reservoir of comfort. You allow the weight of head to rest upon the trunk, chin tipped slightly upward, so that dancing patterns of leaf shadows slip across your face. Their shapes shift continuously, tiny shields, broken spearheads, a horse's plume, a shallow bowl, then dissolve before they can settle long enough to trouble the mind with interpretation. Somewhere nearby a leather, flascum stoppered, a quick pot like a seed pod splitting in heat, followed by glug of water pouring into a shallow cup. The cup passes from hand to hand. You glimpse it only briefly, plain clay, lip-chipped, holding water bright as hammered tin. The sip that follows is inaudible, yet you sense its coolness radiating outward, seeping through the scene as though taste itself were a widening ripple. You swallow reflexively, and the tongue remembers river chill. Without lifting a finger, you drink in memory and find thirst satisfied dot beyond the practice sand lies. A stretch of new grass seeded 3 winters ago after a fire scorched the hillside. Tender shoots now stand ankle high, waving in drafts like a field of miniature spears practicing their own formation. Wind arrives in slow exhalations, folding the grass into arcs that roll away toward distant olives. From your vantage, each breath of air looks deliberate, mindful, as though valley and wind have convened to teach patience by example. Even the sun, high and growing bolder, seems to warm with measured courtesy, never scorching, only coaxing fragrance from resin and herb. A lull descends. The trainees break lines, stooping to collect fallen staffs or to dust sand from shins. One kneels to retie a sandal thong. Another presses knuckles into lower back, stretching vertebrae that pop like tiny beads clicked together and apart. An instructor studies sky, gauging noon's approach, then signals recess with a single clap. The clap penetrates shade and distance, yet arrives diluted, gentle. As if wrapped in wool dot curiously, your eyelids drift lower. The body interprets recess as permission to sink once more into semi-dream. You yield. Ears remain open because They have no choice, but they listen now through layers of cotton. Voices persist in the yard, youthful laughter, a joke too quiet to decipher, yet each phrase lengthens. Vowels stretch, consonants blur, until language dissolves into musical hum. That hum merges seamlessly with cicada chorus, forging an orchestra of midday repose. Imagine time as a clay tablet left in sunlight to harden. Hours etch themselves slowly upon its surface, delicate lines you can follow with fingertip. Already dawn's edges have dried. Noon's inscription is forming, yet remains plastic, malleable. Afternoon still rests in slick, unmarked clay, awaiting the stylus of circumstance. Here, leaning into bark, you may draw whatever pattern pleases, perhaps a simple spiral marking. Each soft breath, perhaps nothing at all, letting the future merge as it will. And if you choose to draw nothing, the clay will still remember the shape of your intention in invisible relief. Smooth yet full of quiet meaning, heat gathers, but not tyrannically. It diffuses instead, like stories recited in low voice around a threshold. It coaxes a faint resin tear from the plane tree's limb. You smell it before you see it, a hint of turpentine mingled with earth. The droplet forms slowly, quivers, then surrenders to gravity, pattering upon dry leaves where it hardens instantly into amber. In that bead of gold, insects once again find immortality, and so do traces of your breath, clinging as minute moisture to resin's glossy skin. Years from now, someone might split that amber and glimpse inside the air of this very moment cicada murmur, distant laughter, restful pulse. They will hold it to lamplight and wonder which legend it guards, a myth of tireless warriors or a quieter truth of human hearts seeking rest between trials. You would tell them, if you could, that both are true, though the second nourishes. The first, the lull, persists, stretching into something richer than silence, attendance, the presence of things unspoken. Olive branches faintly rasp against one another. Shading leaves click dryly overhead. Dust lifts and falls in drowsy arcs. A raven croaks from the ruined watchtower beyond city limits, perhaps announcing nothing more than its satisfaction with the world's slowness. Even insects grow considerate. A horsefly circles once, twice, then selects a farther target, leaving you undisturbed amid your pillar of shade. A hand drum begins to pulse at field's edge, soft, regular, barely stronger. Then heartbeat. Its sound anchors stray minds, signaling quiet attention rather than renewed exertion. You regard the drum not as summons but as lullaby, each thump echoing through ribs. Over time its cadence merges with body's internal rhythms. Systole, diastole, skin ripple, eyelid twitch, all sync to drum. When the drummer pauses, pulse continues alone for a beat, then the drum resumes. As though following you, memory slips sideways and lands against an older morning, another shade tree. A different crowd of youth, your much younger self perched upon branch like inquisitive sparrow. You recall the hush between spear drills, the smell of figs smashed underfoot, the way sunlight flashed along a teacher's bronze greave in staccato patterns. Those flashes mesmerized you, carved permanent runes inside imagination. Perhaps they predicted this present slowness, this ability to see brightness, and accept it not as command to act, but as invitation to witness. Mid-morning settles over the valley like a calm verdict, and the hush of dawn ripens into a luminous drowse. Light pours freely now, yet still nothing hurries. Not the river, not the leaves, not even the young warriors arrayed upon the practice field. They move, yes, pairs circling in measured sparrings, sand puffing beneath bare heels, but their motions flow as slowly as ornate calligraphy traced upon an old scroll. Every lunge, every parry seems designed less to clash than to breathe. You watch from the shade of a monumental plane tree. Its branches stretch so wide that they recall the wings of a heron gliding low over marsh reed. Here, beneath that living canopy of green, You feel no desire to record the drills in perfect memory. Let them flicker before your half-lidded gaze like scenes glimpsed through gauze. A spear tip glints, a calf flexes, chalk flies and settles, and the moment drifts past, cradled by cicada drones that have awakened with the warming day. Those drones weave a sonic shawl across the entire ground, muffling the sharpest footsteps, softening the gruff corrections of instructors into distant thunder far behind the hills. Even reprimands submit to the quiet. The tree trunk at your back breathes an ancient odor of sap and ironstone. Bark furrows cradle your spine. You fit into them like water-shaped river rock, and each small shift of muscle releases a hidden reservoir of comfort. You allow the weight of head to rest upon the trunk, chin tipped slightly upward so that dancing patterns of leaf shadows slip across your face. Their shapes shift continuously, tiny shields, broken spearheads, a horse's plume, a shallow bowl, then dissolve before they can settle long enough to trouble the mind with interpretation. Somewhere nearby a leather, flask unstoppered, a quick pop like a seed pod splitting in heat, followed by glug of water pouring into a shallow cup. The cup passes from hand to hand. You glimpse it only briefly, plain clay, lip-chipped, holding water bright as hammered tin. The sip that follows is inaudible, yet you sense its coolness radiating outward, seeping through the scene as though taste itself were a widening ripple. You swallow reflexively, and the tongue remembers river chell. Without lifting a finger, you drink in memory, and find their satisfied dot beyond the practiced sand lies. A stretch of new grass seeded 3 winters ago after a fire scorched the hillside. Tender shoots now stand ankle-high, waving in drafts like a field of miniature spears practicing their own formation. Wind arrives in slow exhalations, folding the grass into arcs that roll away toward distant olives. From your vantage, each breath of air looks deliberate, mindful, as though valley and wind have convened to teach patience by example. Even the sun, high and growing bolder, seems to warm with measured courtesy, never scorching, only coaxing fragrance from resin and herb. A lull descends. The trainees break lines, stooping to collect fallen staffs or to dust sand from shins. One kneels to retie a sandal thong. Another presses knuckles into lower back, stretching vertebrae that pop like tiny beads clicked together and apart. An instructor studies sky, gauging moon's approach, then signals recess with a single clap. The clap penetrates shade and distance, yet arrives diluted, gentle. As if wrapped in wool curiously, your eyelids drift lower. The body interprets recess as permission to sink once more into semi-dream. You yield. Ears remain open because they have no choice, but they listen now through layers of cotton. Voices persist in the yard youthful laughter, a joke too quiet to decipher, yet each phrase lengthens. Vowels stretch, consonants blur, until language dissolves into musical hum. That hum merges seamlessly with cicada chorus, forging an orchestra of midday repose. Imagine time as a clay tablet left in sunlight to harden. Hours etch themselves slowly upon its surface, delicate lines you can follow with fingertip. Already dawn's edges have dried. Noon's inscription is forming, yet remains plastic, malleable. Afternoon still rests in slick, unmarked clay, awaiting the stylus of circumstance. Here, leaning into bark, you may draw whatever pattern pleases. Perhaps a simple spiral marking, each soft breath, perhaps nothing at all, letting the future emerge as it will. And if you choose to draw nothing, the clay will still remember the shape of your intention, an invisible relief. Smooth yet full of quiet meaning, heat gathers, but not tyrannically. It diffuses instead like stories recited in low voice around a threshold. It coaxes a faint resin tear from the plane tree's limb. You smell it before you see it, a hint of turpentine mingled with earth. The droplet forms slowly, quivers, then surrenders to gravity, pattering upon dry leaves where it hardens instantly into amber. In that bead of gold, Insects once again find immortality, and so do traces of your breath, clinging as minute moisture to resin's glossy skin. Years from now, someone might split that amber and glimpse inside the air of this very moment cicada murmur, distant laughter, restful pulse. They will hold it to lamplight and wonder which legend it guards, a myth of tireless warriors, or a quieter truth of human hearts seeking rest between trials. You would tell them, if you could, that both are true, though the second nourishes. The first, the lull persists, stretching into something richer than silence, attendance, the presence of things unspoken. Olive branches faintly rasp against one another. Shading leaves click dryly overhead. Dust lifts and falls in drowsy arcs. A raven croaks from the ruined watchtower beyond city limits, perhaps announcing nothing more than its satisfaction with the world's slowness. Even insects grow considerate. A horsefly circles once, twice, then selects a farther target, leaving you undisturbed amid your pillar of shade. A hand drum begins to pulse at field's edge soft, regular, barely stronger. Then heartbeat. Its sound anchors stray minds, signaling quiet attention rather than renewed exertion. You regard the drum not as summons but as lullaby, each thump echoing through ribs. Over time its cadence merges with body's internal rhythms. Systole, diastole, skin ripple, eyelid twitch, all sync to drum. When the drummer pauses, pulse continues alone for a beat. Then the drum resumes. As though following you, memory slips sideways and lands against an older morning, another shade tree. A different crowd of youth. Your much younger self perched upon branch like inquisitive sparrow. You recall the hush between spear drills, the smell of figs smashed underfoot, the way sunlight flashed along a teacher's bronze greave in staccato patterns. Those flashes mesmerized you, carved permanent runes inside imagination. Perhaps they predicted this present slowness, this ability to see brightness and accept it not as command to act, but as invitation to witness. High noon sweeps over Laconia with the solemnity of a priest anointing brows slow, deliberate, irrevocable. Heat no longer drapes the valley. It suffuses it, permeating stone, soil, bone, thought. Yet the hush you have carried since dawn endures, rippling just beneath the glare like a river 6 hands below sand. It counsels measured steps and shaded corridors. And so you rise from the plane tree's embrace, brush a faint lattice of leaf shadow from your arms, and drift west toward the sacred precinct of Artemis Orthia. The path leads along a low terrace bordered by barley stubble. Stalks harvested yesterday stand trimmed to finger height, tiny gold quills that quiver at the passage of lizards. Each pace casts puffs of ochre dust that settle upon your calves, warm as fresh bread crust. Breathing deep, you detect resin, crushed grain, and a subtler note, honey warmed in its own comb, escaping from hives arrayed beyond a stone wall. Bees sail overhead, amber flecks against cobalt, their wings muttering secrets only time and laurel can decipher. Presently, the terrace bends and sinks into a dip where poplars congregate around a spring. Their bark gleams like polished pewter. Their leaves hang motionless, unwilling to waste gesture in such heat. Beneath them, spring water slides out of a limestone fissure, gathers in a basin dark as glass, then trickles onward under a moss-mat bridge. You pause at its edge, kneel, and cup clear cold into the bowl of one palm. The chill shocks skin, then spreads like mint along veins. You drink 3 slow draughts until coolness colonizes chest, neck, skull. When you rise, a single drop clings to your thumb. Sunlight spears it, and for an instant you carry a star. The precinct wall appears soon after, rough blocks of gray poros, mortared by time more than lime. Vines climb the joints, bearing clusters of unripe grapes translucent as moonstone. You trace a finger over one tendril's coil, feeling the plant's subtle pulse, a pulse slower than breath, slower even than riverbank drift, but pulsing nonetheless. Above the gate, the lintel bears a weather-softened relief of Artemis flanked by twin deer. Their hooves barely touch stone, yet convey momentum, as if leaping perpetually across centuries of silence. You enter. Inside, heat yields to a tempered twilight scented with burnt laurel, beeswax, and wool. The courtyard stones are shaded by a cedar portico whose beams exhale centuries of incense smoke. No voice greets you. Acolytes observe a noon hush, speaking, only with eyes and gentle gestures. One such gesture directs you toward the stoa's cool interior, where a basin of olive oil laced with myrrh awaits all who seek quietude. Your footsteps soften upon marble chilled by shadow. Each slab bears veinings the color of pale wine, diluted sevenfold. The hall's hush grows deeper than any before deeper, even than dawn's rampart breath. For here, architecture itself seems built of silence, each column a pillar holding. Sky at bay, so that sound may thin to near nothing. The only audible motion is the faint hiss of incense grains collapsing into embers upon a bronze tripod dot. At the basin, you immerse fingertips in oil. Viscous warmth clings to skin, sliding toward wrist with the languor of thick honey. You anoint brow, temples, and inside of each wrist. Myrrh unfurls its dark sweetness, earthy, resinous, slightly bitter, reminding the mind that rest can smell of forest dusk as well as meadow dawn. Moments later, tension in jaw releases. Scalp loosens. Shoulders sag half a finger breadth, closer to earth. Dot turn now toward the cella, the innermost chamber. A veil of woven goat hair hangs across its entrance, dyed pomegranate red. You lift a corner and slip within. Interior darkness greets you like cool water greets fevered flesh. Eyes adjust gradually, discovering the statue, Artemis carved from cypress, torso draped in stolid peplus, right arm extended, palm upturned in eternal invitation. Around her feet lie small votives, bronze arrows, clay fawns, discs of stamped lead bearing prayers. Candle flames flutter beside each offering, halos wavering yet unbroken. Wax pools around candlesticks, forming frozen lagoons of light. You kneel upon reed mats whose fibers remember countless knees. Breath slows until nostrils barely flare, drawing air thick with resin and dust of ground oats, scattered here as symbol of fertility. Fingers find the rough weave of mat. Each fiber seems to whisper a fragment of supplication left by worshippers. Long gone, none are legible to intellect, yet body comprehends. Requests for courage, pleas for safe childbirth, thanksgivings for a hunt concluded in mercy. Silence here has strata. First layer, candles sputter, tripod hiss. Second, your own pulse thrumming in eardrums. Third, something older, more diffused, the acoustic memory of chants once sung by rows of boys during the diamasticosis, a festival where endurance met devotion. Though centuries distant, the echo lingers like dye that never fully leaves cloth. It hums now at threshold of hearing, a vowel with neither beginning nor end. Listening is effortless. Indeed, listening is rest. One by one, distractions sink. Heat lying upon shoulders trickles away as though slugged from skin by invisible palms. The faint itch of sandal strap fade. The afterimage of the training ground dims. Thought itself dimmers first, drifting to the smell of cedar beams, then to nothing at all. In that clearing, an image arises, a single arrow, point down in earth, shaft upright, fletchings catching non-existent breeze. Around the arrow, circle rings of calm expanding until they fill cella, then precinct, then plain. The rings nudge memory of earlier chapters, straw beds, century walls, riverbank shade. You see each as if through water lit at sunset soft edges. Colors diffused. They swirl once, then align beneath the arrow, stacking like quiet stones in a cairn. Through their alignment, a beam of inner light ascends, thin, unwavering, and meets the offered palm of Artemis. Where palm and light touch, contact sparks a hush so profound it eclipses breath. Moments, perhaps minutes pass. Eventually breath returns, deeper, slower. Knees grow numb in pleasant way. Spine loosens without slackening. You feel as if roots slide from kneecaps into reed mat, from mat into ancient earth below precinct, anchoring you to a calm older than myth. And in that calm, you hear an almost voice, not words. More the curve of meaning, the idea that discipline may dwell in stillness. More surely than in exertion, you rise, though not entirely. Better say you float upward, joints guided by currents gentler than wind. Head bows instinctively to wooden goddess. Forehead touches oiled wood, leaving pale sheen. When you withdraw, the imprint remains, a glisten like dew on cypress bark. You pass back through goat hair veil. Crimson threads brush shoulders with hush of leaves in evening. Acolytes wait in courtyard corners, eyes serene. One pours a ladle of barley water into small cup and offers it. Drink is tepid yet soothing, carrying ghost of mint. It travels down throat cooling paths, inner fire might blaze. You think with quiet nod, then pad barefoot across stones warmed under sun now tipping westward. Outside precinct, cicada chorus has shifted key lower, slower, preparatory. Shadows lengthen, sliding like cool cloth over barley stubble. The valley exhales as if discovering new depths of chest. You cross the moss-knot bridge again. Spring water now lukewarm, ripples decorated with petals fallen from poplar catkins. Light slants through canopy, fracturing into shafts that paint lattice across path, reminding you of earlier leaf shadows yet gentler, infused with promise. Of evening dot as you walk, the hush acquired in Zella travels with you, an invisible cloak light as eggshell yet impenetrable to fret. Every step plants hush into earth. Every exhale seeds hush into air. Behind you, path appears unchanged, yet some subtle quiet lingers, echo of solace brushing dust. Ahead looms the city's southern quarter kilns, divats, looms clacking in shaded corridors. Activity persists yet feels muffled, drumbeat softened by a shawl of late-day weariness. Potters stack sun-dried vessels, weavers roll finished cloth. Each motion acknowledges heat's retreat and evening's approach. Faces glow with gold dust. Hands move slower, lips tilt into half smiles that belong to tasks nearly finished. You pause at a low wall and watch artisans for a while. They do not see you. If they did, they might take you for acolyte or messenger, so still you stand. Watching becomes its own craft. The clack of loom merges with distant goat bells. Scent of wet clay joins faint myrrh still clinging to wrists. All merges, all eases. Sun dips another spear length. A breeze flows from Tegetus slopes, sliding under tunic hem, feathering neck with alpine cool. It carries pine, snowmold, and remote thunder of waterfalls hidden in gullies. That breeze finds the holes fatigue has punched through roof of day and stitches them with mercy. Shoulders drop, jaw unclenches. You follow breeze through alleys toward dormitory once more, though. Path matters, little hush guides feet, dot stone steps, ascend to threshold you crossed before dawn. They glow rose gold under lowering sun, edges softened by amber air. You climb, not counting, not pushing, each riser cradling soul. At top, archway receives you. Hall yawns dim but welcoming, its straw pallets already aired for night. Candles will be lit soon. For now, dusk drapes beams in velvet umber. Straw rustles under knees as you kneel to spread your own pallet. Scent of lavender lingers from earlier harvest. You fluff stems with lazy hand, releasing brief bouquet. Then you recline and hush flows over cheeks, chest, limbs, like water. Poured from amphora of stillness you have carried all day. Breath deepens. Ribs lift and fall with rhythm slow as bowing grain. Eyes slip closed before candles spark. You neither see nor need them. The city still bustles outside, yet within these walls a hall, a heart silence crowns itself once more, and you drift swiftly down its river, guided by a goddess's unseen hand. Evening drapes itself across the valley like indigo silk unrolled by invisible hands, sliding from the ridgelines, pooling in every hollow, softening daylight's hard geometry into velvet hush. The first cicada pauses mid-call as if startled. By dusk's sudden gentleness, then resumes in a lower register, granting the twilight a humming heartbeat deep enough to balance every other sound. From the dormitory threshold, you watch that living fabric gather, see stone walls blur at their edges, see barley stubble surrender its scorched brilliance to a palette of umber and smoke. You inhale, and the breath tastes cooler, touched by distant water vapor exhaled from shadowed gorges. Lanterns wink a light along the central street, each flame sealed behind horn panes that diffuse brilliance into lamb-warm glow. Acolytes hurry between them with tapered spills, coaxing fire from lamp to lamp, and the flames accept the journey willingly, like whispered secrets passed along a chain of calm hands. Their flicker paints moving halos on whitewash and clay, halos that merge and break again, a slow choreography that reminds the eye of candlelit, hymns sung in far sanctuaries. Your strides find the cadence of those lights. Those sandals brush flagstone, they raise no echo. Dusk drinks each footfall the moment it forms. At the Agora Square, you pause beside a basin where fishmongers earlier rinsed marble after market. The water lies still, mirroring a sky now inked. With first faint stars, you trace the rim with finger and watch ripples deform constellations. The stars do not protest, returning to order the instant your touch retreats. You carry onward that lessened disturbance may visit, but calm returns. Of its own accord, beyond the square smoke rises from communal kitchens. Wood fires crack and pop, releasing aromas of bay leaf, lentil, goat cheese melted into barley porridge. A woman stirs an iron pot with rhythm patient as tides. Her ladle lifts once, drips, lowers again. She sings beneath breath, fragments of an ode so old its original tongue survives only in cadence, 5 beats rising, 2 falling, a hush, repeat. The melody trickles into alleyways and glides across rooftops, a lullaby delivered before the night has even chosen its dreams. You join a short queue for evening ration, no formal line, merely respectful distance measured by nods. When your turn comes, the cook fills a shallow wooden bowl, barley stewed in goat broth, crowned with olives and sprig of dill. She adds, almost ceremonially, 1 roasted fig, its skin split to reveal syrupy crimson. Her eyes meet yours, but she speaks. Nothing. Words seem superfluous under such fragrant peace. You bow in thanks, cradle the bowl with both hands. Let its warmth seep into palm bones, dot seeking a quiet perch. You drift toward the western wall where stone benches overlook terraces that stair-step down to the Eurotas. You pass under an arch where torches burn smokeless resin, their fragrance pine with hint of citrus bloom and sinuses, sharpening senses while softening urgency. Each breath now resembles slow tide drawing sand grains toward deeper hush. On the bench you sit cross-legged, bowl resting on folded tunic across lap. Steam rises, brushes cheek like shy greeting. You inhale flavor before tasting, malt sweetness of barley, faint tang of goat, bright kiss of dill. Spoon cradles the stew, lifts, pauses. Somewhere behind you, a shepherd calls his last stray away, voice low, coaxing. That voice falls into rhythm with your swallow. Food enters warm, spreads warmth, exits thought. Bite follows bite without haste. You discover the roasted fig last. Teeth pierce caramel skin, juice floods palate, mixing saccharin and smoke. Eyes close reflexively, darkness intensifies flavor. And for 3 heartbeats, nothing exists but molten fruit and the hush that frames. At bowl empty, you scrape spoon, once lazy, half circle collect final grains, place spoon across rim. Palm rests atop bowl. Warmth lingers but lessens, an ember releasing final glow. You set vessel beside bench leg. Another will collect and wash. Gratitude flows for unseen labor, dot above. Night has ripened fully sky, a vault the color of damp slate. Stitched with constellations crisp as chiseled runes. Without lamp or moon, stars appear nearer, humming faint energies that tingle scalp. First you pick out Orion, here called Skia, the shadow, then the crypt splash of Milky Way, Spartans, river of souls. You watch that river for long minutes, breaths lengthening until chest and cosmic vastness share a single rhythm. Expand, contract, shimmer, fade. Wind freshens, sliding off mountains scented with juniper and wet rock. It lifts hair strands, slips beneath collar, and momentarily you envision being hollowed like reed, so that breeze might sing through ribcage. The thought produces delicate tension, not fear or thrill. Merely awareness of possibility, and tension melts us quickly, leaving subtle vibration inside sternum, a resonance like plucked lyre string allowed to ring out until spent. Behind the wall, city noises settle into afterglow. Blacksmiths have banked forges, their anvils cool and sand. Looms stand voiceless, divats sleep beneath wax cloth. Only occasional call of guard or bark of wary dog punctuates hush. Each intrusion seems smaller than prior, as though valley itself trains voices to gentleness before permitting them passage. You rise, bowl in hand, return along torchlit corridor, deposit vessel upon wooden rack beside others. The rack stands against plaster wall painted cinnabar red. Torchlight plays upon bowl's rims, turning them briefly gold. You step away and gold fades, yet memory of gold lingers like echo in optic nerve, like afterimage of sun glimpsed behind closing lids. Feet recall path without thought. They choose alley that arcs gently toward dormitory. Ground here is packed earth, cooler than stone, faintly damp from hidden spring. Your solace register temperature shift, send message up bones cool hour arrives. Ankles loosen, knees drift. Hips sway slightly in consonance with earth's turning. Breath remains unlabored, though path inclines. Muscles collaborate with gravity rather than oppose. Climbing feels like slow floating dot at dormitory entrance. Lamp glow spills through doorway. Carving amber wedge upon threshold stones. Within, straw pallets line walls, some already occupied by silhouettes folded beneath wool. Soft murmurs drift, snippet of prayer, half laugh at recalled jest, rustle of cloak rearranged. You slip inside, choose pallet position near window slit. Facing north, where stars slip by unaccompanied by city glow. Before lying down you kneel, fingertips brushing straw, spreading lavender stems to release mild aroma. Air lifts fragrance, mixes with sandalwood smoke from single taper burning near doorway. That taper crackles gently, as though reciting syllables of an ancient vow. Watch, watch, rest, rest. You recline, tunic loosened, blanket drawn to waist. Spine deposits weight into straw. Straw yields delicate creaks, each creak answered by hush. Outside window, the valley invisibly exhales, sending thin thread of wind across palate. It flicks loose hair from brow, stirs blanket edge, continues. Onward in quest without destination. Beneath blanket warmth burgeons, coaxed by earlier stew, by day-long hush now condensed into bone-deep calm. Eyelids lower half-mast. Through slits you observe candlelight playing across rafters, tracing. Slow waltz with shadows. Beams above converge at apex where darkness pools thick as ink. You imagine dipping quill in that darkness, writing name upon inside of skull. Letters appear silver, sparkle, then dissolve identity flickers, softens, become simple presence. Heartbeat. Audible again, slower than dawn. slower than noon, thudding with an ear canal like muffled drum across distance. Between beats, silence flowers, broadening, stretching until beats resemble stepping stones wide apart over glassy pond. Mind steps, pauses, stares into water that reflects star-dappled night through window slit. Reflection merges with real. Sky until difference loses utility dot in that pause. Images assemble. Cedar pillar wrapped in ivy, spear leaning forgotten against orchard wall. Child's laughter woven into all of tomorrow. None demand analysis. They drift as boat wakes fade upon still river. Some vanish before identity forms. Others linger a moment, offering low glimmer of meaning that neither insists nor recedes. Each glimmer accepted, each allowed departure. Thoughts become birds, glimpsed at far horizon. You register wing beats in periphery, never need identify species. Somewhere towards sanctuary quarter, a drum begins faint cadence, single stroke every dozen heartbeats. Perhaps ritual, perhaps watch signal. Sound arrives domesticated by distance, like thunder tamed into cat's purr. Drumbeat aligns with pulse briefly, then recedes under thicker hush. Another sound emerges, choir of wet frogs along irrigation. Ditch, voices unhurried, content to share same two-note conversation for hours. Their chant expands into room, mixes with straw creak, with taper crackle, with breath. The mix resolves into chord of softness. Your next inhale deepens unexpectedly, diaphragm dropping as if to anchor soul to earth. Exhale lengthens, blowing, across lips parted but idle. With breath goes small weight behind eyes hidden tension from unknown hour. Shoulders announce surrender, clavicles tilt, throat releases microclick. Body resets calibrations to restful state older than memory. Mind dims one additional notch, horizon narrows. Yet within narrowing, another vastness appears, an inner plane lit by glow that needs neither torch nor moon. You stand there momentarily observing figure ahead, perhaps your younger self, perhaps ageless guardian behind temple veil. They raise hand, palm out, not forbidding but blessing. Light unfolds scene, not blinding but soothing, as though world were brushed with milk. Pulse counts 3, 2, 1. Scene dissolves. Now only black velvet remains, speckled by faint motes. Flickering behind eyelids, velvet welcomes. Motes swirl, gather, collapse into single silver spiral that breath unspools, then rewinds. Spiral twines around heartbeat, coaxing it slower again, until beats drift wide like stars across enormous sky. A voice inside chest low, sexless utters syllable with no consonant. Sustained vowels soft as sigh begun but never finished. That syllable hovers, shelters breath, blankets heart, merges with hush, and suddenly there is no voice, no hush, only seamless continuity. Oceanic quiet. Sleep's frontier stands steps away, border marked by nothing but ease. You step, or perhaps you drift and border vanishes behind. Body remains breathing. Mind folds into deeper alcove. Dreams rise, gentle and lucid, weaving straw, lantern, stew, goddess, spear, star into tapestry lacking edges. In that weave, no thread tugs, no tension knots. All flows. Outside, torch by doorway flutters once, then steadies, guarding chamber without demand. Valley glimmers under 1,000 watchful stars. Sparta exhales, and in the vast hush of second, duskier traveler, sink unmeasured fathoms into restorative dark where even legends lower their helms and close weary eyes. Midnight drapes the valley in a depthless indigo, heavier than dusk, softer than velvet, wider than imagination. Every hearth fire has ebbed to cinders, every torch has guttered into faint orange knots, and yet faint luminescence persists wherever. Moonlight strikes roof tile or spear tip left leaning against a barrack wall. Inside the agōgē dormitory, Breaths rise and fall like gentle surf inside a sheltered cove. Outside, the night is so tranquil that even olives, famous here for a restless leaf, flutters, have surrendered to stillness, holding their gray-green. Tongues flat against windless dark, your body lies slack upon straw, but the mind freed now from guard duty, training drills, and temple hush drifts outward in a lucid wandering. It slides like dew along lintel and sill, seeps through window slit, then evaporates under cold starlight until it becomes a lightless vapor, weightless and obedient to curiosity alone. Unmoored, it glides over rooftops glazed with faint frost, follows a side street scented with fig smoke, blurs between columns of a silent stoa, and floats beyond the city wall into unfarmed meadow. Beyond the outlying pastures, the earth rises. In low hummocks, sheep, huddled in woolen constellations, breathe white puffs that burst like dandelion ghosts. A watchdog lifts its head, ears cupping the dark. Sensing nothing hostile in your phantom passage, it collapses muzzle on paws and slides back into doze. The meadow's wild mint tangles with night cold. That combined perfume slips through your intangible lungs and brightens inner awareness like the flare of a coal stirred, then settles into ember warmth behind the breastbone of your dreaming self. Further west, the river you learned at dawn still murmurs, though midnight changes its voice. By day it chuckled over stones, crisp and young. By night its timbre drops an octave, rolling like distant timpani beneath the earth. You hover above its mirrored surface. Stars double themselves in the black glass, Orion's belt bending across. Liquid like silver nails driven into obsidian. One shooting spark cleaves both atlases at once celestial and aqueous before, vanishing so quickly it feels almost apologetic. The hush that follows swells inside skull, filling every corner until synapses hum in resonance with cosmic quiet thought as you drift upstream of faint blue luminescence. Appears beneath water, ghostly ribbons wavering in slow current. At first you think of moonlight refracted, but soon recognize living sparks, tiny bioluminescent crustaceans swirling in midnight dance. They gather under your shadow and whirl, forming spiral that mirrors galaxy above. Two spirals, one of stars, one of plankton spin. Across separate mediums in choreographed anonymity, you witness both simultaneously and feel double gravity pulling consciousness further inward, away from noise, toward a hush that rings with infinite clarity. Eventually current ferries you away. River narrows, banks rise, and stone huddles closer. Around streamed, creating a gorge where all sound focuses to silver thread. There, at a bend sheltered by overhanging pine, stands a shrine no longer attended by priests, a simple platform of schist on which lies a broken terracotta votive. Hind leg of a stag, glaze flaked but still hinting at once shining cinnabar. Ivy claws over the remaining shards, knitting them into Earth's quiet apology. You pause in reverence, though you know not which forgotten god claimed worship here. Maybe there is never name, only gratitude poured into clay. That gratitude lingers like faint warmth inside shard. You feel it brush intangible palm, a pulse older than recorded chronicle dot climbing from gorge into Takeda's foothills. You pass from open night into cedar forests where darkness densifies to liquiding, yet fear fails to rise. Instead all grows, for the forest breathes an unmistakable calm. Each cedar trunk exhales terpene aromas, cool camphor, faint lemon, resin kissed by frost, and those vapors slow thought further still until sentences unravel into single vowels. Vowels fade into hum, hum thins into gently turning silence. Where silence spins, mind hovers weightless dot between trunks. Pale threads of moonlight slant and tangle like loom, warps stretched across invisible frame. Touching one thread with phantom fingertip sends ripple of opalescent dust flitting through air, then disappearing among fern fronds. Dew beads catch that ripple, magnify it, create microscopic rainbows that last exactly the length of one blink. A drifting awareness. Ahead, clearing opens around a limestone outcrop, shaped curiously like reclining figure. Moss cloaks the stone's flanks, tufted to emerald where damp lingers. At its base springs a pool no wider than a shield. Its water is black, but faintly steaming under night's chill. Wisps rise, twisting like pale serpents, then dissipate just beyond pool's rim. You descend to water's edge, dream, feet leaving. No imprint in loam, and lean forward. Surface mirrors more than face. It mirrors entire day you carry. Straw dawn, sentinel wall, river midday, temple hush, rosy dusk, dormitory taper. Each vignette surfaces, then ripples away. Last seen to appear is one yet to happen, a new dawn arriving soon. Valley gold washed, sparrows fracturing hush with flurried gratitude. Even in dream you smile. Dawn seems friend awaiting you at banquet's far table, down an unexpected sound breaks quiet a faint metal chime. You turn and notice, hanging from cedar arm, a row of small bronze plaques, each suspended by leather thong. The plaques jostle in windless night as though coaxed by heartbeat alone, emitting tinny tings arranged in ascending scale. You float. Nearer, each plaque bears shallow inscription, not words, but dots and dashes reminiscent of star maps. You sense they represent nights just like this one, recorded by unknown dreamers binding hush into symbol. A breeze stirs at last, coaxed perhaps by curiosity. It brushes plaques again. They answer with new chord, deeper this time, vibrating ribs of your dreaming form. Waves of sound radiate outward, pushing hush into fresh shapes. Dew on moss shivers, bioluminescent plankton downstream brighten for an instant distant sheep sigh in sleep. Night accepts chord, folds it into tapestry of noises so scarce you must strain to recognize them. Spider weaving, bud unfurling, fungus secreting spores. All contribute fate instrumentation to hushes. Grand composition dot the plaques settle. Breeze passes on. You feel sudden yearning to lie upon moss, surrendering vantage of floating observer to slower vantage of rooted sleeper. You yield. Body of dream reclines against stone shaped like sleeping figure, both forms merge silhouette. Moss compresses, but bounces back. Pillow of earth holds skull with botanical tenderness, lips part. Vapor of cedar and mint slides into lungs, eases deeper dot stars overhead wheel imperceptibly. Awareness registers shift only a subtle change in taste of dark, a hint more sweetness, like ripe plum hidden inside abyss. Somewhere inside that sweetness emerges a rhythmic drum soft, insistent, slower than heart. It may be pulse of forest floor, or the low percussive chant of distant sea, or footfall of unseen deity pacing valley's rim. Whatever origin, it lulls, anchoring mind to gentle beat that mends any frayed thread and dream. Weave dot as minutes pass though. Minutes have no dominion here, drum fades and is replaced by hush once again. Hush layered so densely it becomes substance rather than absence. Within that substance you drift down, sliding into pocket of absolute rest. Senses dim, scent recedes, vision bleeds to charcoal, hearing collapses into faint internal echo. Only one faculty remains, felt knowledge that you are safe, and that safety neither needs proof nor explanation. Perhaps in distant dormitory your physical form shifts. Straw murmurs, eyelids flutter. If so, body remains undisturbed. It knows. Dream is labor of restoration, forging quiet where day carved furrows, spreading bone where a practice raised ache. Body yields, trusting phantom self to finish night's architecture. Depth increases, dream light dissolves. You sink beneath lake of silence so complete that even idea of silence dissolves. There remains merely abiding, and abiding all boundaries. Slacken between mind and moss, between cedar sap and blood plasma, between star and neuron. Everything shares property of quiet. Everything beats one pulse, slower than celestial seasons, older than myth, yet intimately yours. Eventually, though. Neither you nor night keep count. The pulse nudges awareness gently upward. Not enough to wake, only to lighten. You rise again through layers of hush, past bronze plaques humming softer scale, past moon thread warp, past inert riverside shrine, past sleeping wheat and watchdog. At dormitory, you re-enter through window slit. Like returning breath. Body receives dream without question. Chest lifts once, exhales once. Muscular fibers slacken deeper than before. Jaw slides half open. Brow unfurrows entirely. Straw-sized contentment. Outside, a star winks goodbye behind mountain crests. First omen of pre-dawn. Night still rules valley, yet promise of light flickers, waiting. You ride that flicker into still more tranquil layer of sleep, one free of image, free of symbol, free even of hush, because hush has become baseline reality. In that final recess, not even legend stirs. Sparta itself might forget its own name for an hour, releasing memory the way arrow releases string, simple motion, simple purpose, to let tension go. You abide there effortlessly, weightless in womb of night, while beyond closed lids, lines of starlight prowl across sky, guarding your descent into elemental peace. Dream ends where dawn will soon begin, but you never notice seam. There is no scene, only flowing cloth of rest. As eyes beneath lids drift left then right, then still, body accepts another measure of quiet, and spirit, once wandering, curls into nest of ribs and sleeps exactly as valley sleeps, complete, unafraid, ready for the silver lips of morning to brush cheek and call forth new chapter. Until that silver touch, stay. Stay beneath cedar rumor and starlight hush. Stay held by moss and night and slow stone. Stay a traveler, loved by silence itself, while the world beyond rehearses daybreak in whispers too soft to wake you. The horizon has not yet cracked, but darkness is beginning to thin, an almost imperceptible graying of sky where moments ago it was ink. Inside the dormitory, the last breaths of night still curl in the rafters like smoke reluctant to disperse. A taper, burned halfway through the night, reaches its final pool of wax and expires with a sigh so soft only straw mattresses hear. In that gentle extinction, the hush born of midnight finds its brief perfection. Every sleeper ensconced in silence deep as riverstone, every heartbeat echoing a cadence slower than tides. Your eyelids twitch once, twice, then settle again. The body has not summoned wakefulness, but dream has eased its grip, releasing fingers one by one from your thoughts. A tingle, the faintest prickle of chilled air across exposed forearm, spreads like an ink stain through sensory map and announces arrival of pre-dawn. The dormitory seems to grow larger as shadows shrink inward, softening edges of beams, walls, and woven reed mats until each surface glows with diffuse promise, a dim sorcery that suggests shapes without insisting upon them. Somewhere beyond stone walls, a single owl offers its valedictory hoot, the punctuation mark that ends its sentence, of night hence. No sooner has the sound faded than the first sparrow issues a tentative chirp, like a child testing water with toe before diving in. The chirp hangs unanswered, then returns an echo so subtle it might be only memory, encouraged by its own reflection. Of sound, the sparrow tries again. 2 chirps this time, quick like flint strikes. Farther away, a friend responds. Thus begins the low murmur of dawn, rolling forward in cautious wavelets, stirring olive groves one leaf at a time. Within the dormitory, the hush quivers. Muscles recalibrate, stretching beneath skin. Dreams withdraw deeper, curling into nodes of quiet potential. You inhale slow, measured incense lavender pollen, straw dust, faint ember smoke. Each scent situates you inside body anew, yet None demands full alertness. Eyes remain shut. Mind treads the boundary of awareness, exploring perimeter for cracks. Through those cracks seep colors, wax candle amber, barley field gold, the pale cerulean yet to dye the east. They swirl in darkness behind eyelids, forming slow vortex that invites rather than compels. Your spine, resting in grooves shaped overnight by patience of straw, discovers slight desire to shift. A minor tremor of shoulder, a clandestine roll, of ankle and straw sighs as air moves between stalks. That sigh flutters like a small flag, signaling readiness, but not yet necessity to rise. Beneath ribs, heart adjusts tempo by 1/2 beat toward swifter cadence. Not rapid, merely anticipatory, like a drummer tapping sticks before music truly begins. Elsewhere in the city, bakers kindle low fires beneath clay domes. The first exhalation of steam from wetted dough ascends into dawn air and coils down alleyways, leaving ghosts of ferment sweetened by wood smoke. That scent infiltrates dormitory through chinks in shutter, and in half dream you see warm loaves lined upon pine boards, crusts beginning to brown, releasing notes of earth and sun stored within grain. Hunger, infant and drowsy, stirs but remains content to wait. You open one eye to sliver and witness dormitory monochrome. Pallets resemble faint shoreline dunes. Sleepers are driftwood scattered by restful tide. Someone at far wall exhales through parted lips, cheeks puffing. Like sails of toy ship, the sound is nearly laughter. Another sleeper rolls onto flank, causing blanket to slide, then stills, retreating back to dream. Observing these minor movements is like watching reeds in slow river current. Each bend subtle, each return inevitable, whole field swaying to a rhythm deeper than time of day. A subtle rustle at doorway. The night watch has entered. Sandals glide with a care learned from months of dawn patrol. He will note who wakes naturally, who requires gentle shake, and who deserves few more minutes grace discipline tempered by empathy. Torch in his hand glows blue at core, orange at tip, painting thin vertical stripe along floorboards. That stripe creeps like sunrise's scout, mapping path of light before larger army arrives. He kneels beside first pallet, murmurs name, touches shoulder. Sleeper stirs, nods, sits. Similar ritual repeats along row. Name, touch, nod. Each waking soul joins hush rather than breaks it, adding quiet breathing to choir rather than shattering melody. When watchman reaches you, he pauses, perhaps reading. Your half-open lids, perhaps sensing you've hovered near surface for many heartbeats. He sets palm lightly upon straw near elbow, not upon you, and stillness accepts invitation to become motion. Bones align, sinews tighten gently, eyelids ascend toward low beams. No words pass, yet meaning flows. Morning has sent envoy. Dreams may retire. You sit, legs crossing beneath blankets fold. Blood travels down shin with prickling warmth. Ankles greet floors chill. Candle stub on floor has gone dark. Wax cooled into puddle that remembers flame. Overhead, beams now glow. Faint rose where east light penetrates shutter gaps. Dust motes perform their timeless ballet, each speck a free-flying thought not yet pulled into gravity of day. A bowl of water, left upon stool near window to temper overnight, offers reflections of salmon-tinted nebula swirling across surface. You lean, scoop handful, dash face. Shock of cold severs final threads of slumber, yet avoids startle. Instead it feels like seal impressed upon wax sleep pressed into memory. Wakefulness notarized into now, dot beyond dormitory threshold corridor yawns dim. Night watch leads column of half-woken trainees toward courtyard. Feet whisper over reed. Mats like breeze brushing sheaves. You join end of procession. Corridor air changes with each step. Straw and sweat replaced by lamp oil. Lamp oil replaced by cedar smoke. Cedar smoke replaced by dawn air laced with hillside chill. At archway, sky reveals gradient of soft cyan bleeding upward from unseen. Sun. Stars fade, though a stubborn handful lingers near zenith, reluctant to yield. Courtyard stones still hold night's cold. It seeps through sandals, climbs arches of feet, sharp as memory of mountain stream. Muscles respond by flexing. Heat blooms within, counterpoint to chill. Watchman raises arm, signaling simple breathing, drill nothing strenuous. Merely discipline of lungs to harmonize with valley's grand inhale. Everyone stands feet parted, arms at sides, facing east as though horizon were oracle stone. Together inhale through nose, count 4 beats. Hold 2, exhale through mouth, count 5. Repeat. With each sequence dawn appears brighter, as though breath fans embers of sun hidden behind ridge. On final exhale, east ignites. First thin blade of gold slices sky, severing night's final black thread. It spills over ridgeline, strikes rooftops, slides down walls, kisses courtyard stone. Each trainee receives ray upon cheek, brow, shoulder. Where light touches skin, gooseflesh rises, then warmth floods cells like honey steeped in tea. You feel that warmth meet residual hush in chest, and union produces a resonance deeper than sound, an understanding that day may brim with toil. Yet toil can flow inside hush if hush is carried within. Sun nudges higher. Courtyard brightens to pale gold. The watchman dismisses group with low voice. Some depart for kitchen rations. Others trot toward training sand. You linger. Light now touches cypress spear racks at courtyard edge, gilding bronze blades until they flare like sun splinters. Stepping closer, you run finger along one spear butt, wood smooth yet scarred. The scars map seasons of drills, echoes of each dawn like this, each breath exercise, each union of hush and exertion, craving movement. You select unarmed spear, carry to broad flagstone. Feet plant, spine rises. Inhale, raise spear overhead. Axis vertical, exhale, lower to right shoulder. Inhale, pivot hips, slide spear along invisible arc. Exhale, dip butt to ground, point to sky. The kata, learned long ago, is meditation disguised as martial form. Each pose flows into next with deliberation slower than sleeping river. Sun warms nape, breeze cools shins. Mind watches without commentary. Spear becomes extension of breath. Tracing glyphs not in air but with an awareness. After 20 cycles, spear butt returns to flagstone, stance returns to rest, breath returns to slow. Sweat beads along hairline. You swipe but find no discomfort, only evidence of body's living participation in dawn. Replacing spear upon rack, you bow to mute bronze edges, then turn toward kitchen where scent of barley bread now roams alleyways. With alluring arrogance dot en route, you pass statue of a hoplite erected to commemorate long past skirmish. Bronze face stares east, eyes bright where smith polished inside corners. Morning light catches helm crest, painting glimmer that pulses with each stride you take. An earlier chapter, you saw shields reflect similar gleam. Now the statue offers continuity, proof hush and light share cyclic romance, a dance unchanged by centuries. At kitchen doorway, queue shorter. Cook ladles thick porridge into earthenware bowl, tops with drizzle of fig syrup. Wooden spoon handed over feels warm from stack. You think with nod. Take seat on low wall where sun angles directly onto thighs. First spoonful tastes of earth tempered by nectar. Second spoonful tastes of effort sweetened by ease. Each mastication anchors you deeper into present. Sparrow lands near boot toe, tilts head, flutters off, bowl empties. You drink last trickle, set aside. A cup of watered wine appears gift from fellow trainee. Liquid tinted pale ruby, cold beads on clay. Sip, swallow. Palate registers tart grape, faint iron of amphora. Coolness slides throat, pulling warmth. Inside belly, conversation hums around yet doesn't lure you. Hush persists, now accompanied by sociable murmur rather than threatened by it. Sun climbs. Courtyard reveals details lost in dark, hairline cracks in flagstone, lizards scuttling between, dried berry under bench. These minutiae celebrate ordinary life, the field in which legend grows roots. Overhead swifts carve arcs, cutting sky in two, ribbons that mend behind wings. Their churs break hush at a ferment, like cymbal stroke concluding silent prayer. You rise, carry bowl to wash basin. Water splashes, soap root foams, clay shines anew. Small act completes ritual of morning nourishment. Body now readies for tasks, perhaps tending training partner's shield straps, perhaps gathering olive branches for evening fire. Whatever comes, hush will ride beneath action like melody beneath harmony. Returning toward training ground, you. Task glance north. There, Tegetus stands gilded, peaks haloed by sun that only minutes ago peaked shyly. Now it strides upward, fearless, kingly. The mountain's silent majesty resonates with hush carried inside. You realize hush is not absence of sound, but alignment with larger cadence pulse of earth turning, sun climbing, breath cycling. Day will crescendo with clatter, commands, laughter, yet hush will underwrite each note. Mind acknowledges coming labor without resistance. Muscles anticipate heat and weight. Psyche anticipates challenge. None of these spawn anxiety, because hush offers broad cushion on which exertion may land gently. Even failure, should it arrive, will fall into hush and find itself softened. Exhale through nose, vapor no longer visible, air warmed. Without cue, feet move, shoulders straighten, pace quickens slightly, not frantic, but purposeful. Dawn ceremony ends. Day ceremony begins. Yet the two are not separate, they taper into each other like verses of same hymn sung in different keys. You step into that second, verse ready, calm, suffused by lumen of sunrise and lumen of trust out behind you. Dormitory dims into morning shadow. Ahead, practice sand sparkles with quartz as trainees rake surface smooth. Somewhere in midst of chores, a voice laughs, bright, ringing, echoing off city wall. The laugh doesn't break hush, it ornaments it. Inside chest hush blooms wider. Day invites you to weave threads of act, sound, sweat into tapestry started at midnight, embroidered with dawn, destined to glow beneath afternoon sun and to be folded once more under velvet hush of next night. You accept invitation. Step forward. Spear drills, olive gathering, bread kneading, each awaits. Hush follows at heel like loyal hound, silent yet fierce in devotion. Through it all, Spartan Valley thumps heart of ancient calm, and you match its rhythm, shaping legend not through clash, but through quietly sustained vigilance of breath and being. Go now, traveler in training, and let hush illuminate every action under climbing sun until night returns to gather stories you'll carry into Chapter 9's deeper dark. The sun stakes its full claim upon the valley, climbing to a zenith so exact that shadows shrink into slivers beneath sandals and spear shafts. Heat glitters across the training ground like unseen harp strings, vibrating from quartz grains into open air, ringing a note too high for ears, but perfectly tuned to skin. Yet even here, in the furnace of midday discipline, hush you carried from dawn remains compressed, perhaps, but unbroken. A cool river veiled beneath sands of exertion. You begin with the shield wall. 12 trainees interlock bronze-rimmed. Circles, arms braided through handles worn smooth by sweat and time. You take position at center left, leather grip firm yet supple beneath fingers still scented faintly of fig syrup. At instructor's terse nod, column advances heel, toe, heel, each step measured. Each impact producing single dull thump swallowed instantly by sun-thick air. Opposing line mirrors motion. Neither side strikes, each merely breathes, waiting. For cue. Cue comes, brief whistle, slicing heat. Shields raise, edges kiss with heavy click, bodies brace. Not battle, it is lesson and tension without violence. And listening to pulse of collective movement, you feel weight of partner's rim pressed against yours. Sense tremor of his breathing travel through curved bones and into wrist bones, up, forearm, across clavicle. Heart synchronizes, thud, 7 beats, inhale. Smell of olive oil and leather strap publishes quiet promise. We hold. Instructor calls release. Shields lower, circle breaks, column turns about face. Another. Pass, then another. Each repetition engraves pattern deeper into muscle memory until thought can watch from a distance. Observing arms and legs enact choreography on their own. Between sets, you step aside to water jars shaded by linen canopy. Clay vessel sweats. When you lift lid, cool vapor ghosts upward, baptizing cheek. Ladle scoops, pours stream into mouth praise water. How it scripts hush directly onto throat, writing syllables of relief across parched palate. Jars replace, shield lifted. Drill resumes, later archery pit. Targets stand at measured intervals. Painted with concentric circles fading in noon glare. Bowstring hum thrums over pit like taut lyre strewn across valley. You knock arrow, draw, shoulders protest. Heat drags on sinew, but hush inside marrow answers with counterweight of calm. Exhale through parted lips, find moment of stillness between heartbeats, release. Arrow whispers flight, spinning hush into fletching vortex, lands 2 rings from center, not perfect, but honest. More arrows follow, each a stanza, each improving meter. Instructor notes posture, adjusts elbow, but words fall light as dust, rousing no anxiety. When quiver empties, you collect arrows, the walk across sand slow, meditative. Each arrow removed from straw face slides free with hiss like distant rain. Hands cradle shafts, stacking them gently in fist. Returning to firing line, you pass bench where companion tends small blister with beeswax salve. Smell of honey floats, reminders of midnight swarm swirling beneath river nights. You smile, he returns nod. Drill proceeds. Afternoon approaches apex. Instructor grants respite, a pocket of shade, 30 strides long cast by northern wall. Trainees collapse like felled saplings, backs along cool bricks, arms sprawled. Sweat evaporates, leaving salt crystalline wastes along temples. You join them, shoulders pressed to stone, letting heat siphon into masonry. Somewhere overhead, hawk circles, its whistle a bright pinprick in colossal blue tapestry. Hush thickens under shadow. Breath steadies. Eyelids dip half-mass, viewing world through. Blurred veil. Conversation arises but moves sluggishly as though tongues push against sand. Topics drift rumor of distant polis, memory of last winter's frost. Speculation about next ration of olives, but each fades before a sentence finishes. Surrendered to gravity of stillness, you slide down wall until sitting becomes reclining. Stone no pillow. Vision narrows to a rectangle of sky bracketed by parapet. Azure field dotted by 2 drifting clouds, each shaped like fragment of fleece. Clouds travel west, unstoppable yet unhurried, leaving nothing behind except example. Example. Followed. Your mind adopts their pace, drifting from shield weight to arrow flight to laurel-scented temple, stitching memories into cloud cloth, then letting cloth dissolve. Glaze of slumber overlays consciousness, thin leaf of gold hammered by heat. Body. Slacks, shield callus on palm pulses faint ache, quickly drowned by warmth. Just as sleep threatens full capture, instructor calls everyone to feet. The voice, though firm, emerges softened by shade. Its echo disappears quickly. Trainees groan. Stand, thus sand from tunics. You rise with them, noticing less reluctance than expectation, the hush inside prepared for next motion. Now comes endurance run, loop around valley perimeter. 30 furlongs tracing goat paths beneath olives and cypress. You line at gate, sandals. Adjusted, water ration sipped. Instructor raises hand, release. Feet pound dirt, kicking puffs of ochre. Group forms loosely spaced ribbons sliding along outer wall, then descending slope into orchard rows. At first lungs protest heat, but rhythmic cadence of hush soon tames breath. You settle into stride where inhalations equal 5 steps, exhalations 5. Olive branches blur overhead, glimpsed between swing of arms. Sun flickers strobe through. Leaves painting moving tattoos across forearms, chest, thighs dot mile passes, then second. Sweat beads, trickles, but hush flows deeper, carrying away burn. Runners spread apart. Still hush binds them by unseen threads. Each footfall part of shared drumline echoing valleys midday heart. At midpoint spring, cue forms for water. Dip you skip, trusting internal reservoir. Hush instructs conserving pace. Path climbs rocky grade, quads quake. You lean forward, exhale long. HUSH widens, cushioning strain like invisible sling. Crest reached, path descends. Gravity aids. Breath studies. Ridge offers view of Eurotas, silver ribbon. Memory of midnight spiral surfaces. You smile mid-stride without losing cadence. Final furlong enters city gate. Trainees funnel through, panting, laughter mingling with curses hurled at some. Instructor awaits, counts finishers, nods satisfaction. Sweat-soaked tunic clings. You peel it, wave to encourage evaporative breeze. Hush within flickers but holds. Run concluded dot, return to courtyard. Large basin awaits, water tinted pale green by mint stalks. One by one, trainees plunge heads, emerging. Gasping, your turn, you kneel, submerge crown, face, then lift. Shock electric, yet hush absorbs jolt, converts to bright clarity. Water cascades down Mape back, pooling at heels. Mint scent invigorates nasal passages, adding new stanza to hushes. Ever-growing palm.time for midday meal. Cart of flatbread rounds topped with goat cheese and shredded basil stands beneath awning. You take one disc, tear quarter chew. Cheese tang, bread chur bloom flavors across tongue. Nearby stand amphorae of diluted wine. You fill clay beaker. Halfway swirl, sip the acidity, prise open palate, washing salt. Sitting cross-legged upon flagstone, you alternate bites with sips, letting hush weave flavors into fuller tapestry of satiety dot after meal. Instructor dismisses until late afternoon. Some trainees head toward baths, others to shade for nap. You choose Olive Grove north of training ground, where low branches create secretive canopy. Ground padded by falling leaves, smelling of pepper and grass. Dropping beneath arching limb, you find patch where sunlight leaks through a mosaic of leaves, speckling earth and gold coins. There you recline, arms folded under head. Knees bent out wind begins gentle dialogue with foliage, the sibilant hush of leaf against leaf. Each passive breeze triggers cascade of tiny clicks, like ceramic beads sliding along string. Among those clicks you detect faint buzzing of solitary bee prospecting blossoms. Its path draws invisible geometry overhead. Cicadas join choir gradually, adding brass section to symphony. Combined music does not disrupt hush. Rather, it reveals hush's harmonic structure. Your mind, sated by labor and lunch, descends toward siesta. Muscles loosen, eyelids slip, breath deepens. Yet this sleep differs from night's deep ocean. It is shallow lagoon, warm, bright, dotted by coral of lingering awareness. In that lagoon, images drift, spear tip sparkling, fig syrup on lip, cedar plaque chiming, broken stag votive. They sail on translucent currents, overlapping, blending. You watch until watching becomes feeling, Feeling becomes simple presence floating in sun-dappled quiet. Time elapses unmeasured, perhaps a quarter hour, perhaps half. Shade tilts. Speckles migrate across forearm. Fly lands on knuckle, tickling. You flick gently, returning to drift. Finally, distant horn blows single note signal for afternoon assembly. Eyes open, vision wavers with afterimage of leaves. You sit, stretch arms overhead, spine cracking soft sequence. Rising, you brush leaf fragments from tunic, gather sandals, and step into afternoon path. Sun lower now, edges softened. Heat west, tyrannical though still firm in rulership. You walk toward training ground renewed, hush inside refreshed by shallow sleep. Ahead, instructor ready spear throw contest. Stakes hammered, rope marks line. You join queue, have to practice spear, testing balance. Weight feels familiar. Hush flows from grip into shaft, promising smooth arc. One by one trainees throw. Some spears dip early, thunking into sand. Others fly long but off axis, skipping. Sideways, raising plumes of dust. Your turn. Feet plant shoulder width. Non-throwing arm extends pointing path. Inhale, hush blossoms behind sternum. Exhale, hips twist, arm whips. Spear leaves hand, cutting silence with whisper. It arcs high, no spinning faint glint. Lands near stake best of session so far. Murmurs of approval pass line. You nod humility. Hush holds ego in cool fingers. Contest continues. Sun eases further, bathing ground in amber. Instructor tallies scores, pats shoulders. You fetch spear, enjoying tactile crunch of sand under heel. Light angles low, painting long shadows like tall calligraphic letters across terrain. Those letters spell conclusion of drill, invitation to evening cask, stock route dismissed again. Some depart for bathhouse, others for mess hall. You feel desire for water, not conversation. Turning west, you wander path to spring where poplars stand pure sentinels. Same spring visited previous chapters, yet sunlight now filters through leaves in molten bronze, scattering dapples across water. You kneel, cup handfuls, splash face, forearms. On third splash, pause. Water surface reflects golden sky, your brow framed by leaves. Hush gleams from reflection as if luminous liquid. Lingering, you watch ripples spread concentric hush across pool. They dissipate at mossy rim, leaving water mirror stillness again. In that mirror appear glimpses of tasks still ahead. Evening fire, roll call, supper under stars. None carry weight, they float like dandelion seeds ready for night wind. You stand, water dripping, and return to city inside bubble of hush thicker than mornings, tempered by day's forging dawn at bathhouse gates steam wavers, scented with oregano and salt. You enter, disrobe, step into warm pool. Heat embraces sore calves, shoulders, muscles unfurl, hush sighs satisfaction. Fellow trainees murmur quietly. Their chatter exists but fails to disturb inner still. You soak, then move to cooler pool. Pores tighten, blood invigorates. Finale, ladle of olive oil rubbed into skin, scraped off with strigil, leaving surface smooth. Ritual complete. Dusk approaches. Sky bleeds apricot behind mountain silhouette. You exit bath, don fresh tunic, sandals. Air cooler, carrying clove. Smoke from kitchen fires. You walk slowly back toward mess, footsteps tapping soft meter, hush aligning with lengthening shadows. Valley hum subdued, cicadas preparing final corral. Swifts replaced by bats scribbling fast loops. Another day forging legend of hush through motion nears close. Mess hall benches fill. You find spot facing open courtyard where first star winks. Bread, lentil stew, grilled onion served. You eat steadily, savoring synergy of flavors sharpened by hunger and calm. Voices around rise, laugh, but hush remains interior anchor. Meals end. Bowls stacked. A singer begins low melody, weaving ancient tale of Dioscuri sailors guiding storm-tossed ships. Notes float like olive leaves in twilight breeze. You listen, allow melody to slip through ribs, braiding into hush dot when song ends, applause soft. Night claims sky fully, lanterns lit, yet their glow gentle. Instructor announces curfew. You rise, return to dormitory walkway. Crickets arch chorus. Milky Way unfurls white braid overhead. Window slit frame slice of cosmos. Straw awaits. Blanket. Smells of sun dried today. Pillow still faint of lavender. Body sinks. Hush deepens once more, eyes close. Behind lids, memory of day glows like ember shield trill, spear arc, mint water, olive shade. Embers fade to red, then to ash, then to velvet dark. Hush expands, filling voids between cells, between atoms. Breath slows, then slower. Sleep steps. Forward like patient guardian carrying tomorrow's banners rolled and bound. You surrender them to hush, drift inward. Another Spartan day folded into silent archive within marrow. And beyond dormitory walls, valley hums lullaby older than city. Older than gods, older even than hush itself. But hush alone hears, and hush smiles within you. Rest now, traveler. Night will polish tomorrow's sunrise while you dream of olive leaves spinning slow pirouette through late day gold, of water glass rippling hush, of bronze scar remembering who you are becoming. When next chapter opens, you will rise again to greet new pattern of breath, shield, river, star each, threaded through this endless quiet you carry like hidden talisman. Night has vaulted overhead once more, yet this is not the starlit hush of chapter 7 nor the tentative gray of chapter 8. It is the deep blue core of the nocturnal wheel, a passage between yesterday's burdens and tomorrow's undertakings, where time itself seems to loosen its grip on chronology. The moon, fat and ivory, has scaled the zenith and hangs now just shy of midnight, illuminating Tacitus peaks like molten marble and gilding every roof tile with ghostly lacquer. Inside the dormitory hall, most trainees slumber in neat rows of straw and wool, all except the small rotation chosen for the latest watch. Tonight your name graced the roster again, a silent nod from the instructor acknowledging both your calm endurance and the hush you perhaps broadcast unconsciously around each daily task. When the soft tug upon ankle arrived a gentle summons, from fellow sentinel you responded with minimal stir. Blanket folded, sandals laced, spear gripped. Body rose into moonlit corridor with ease, heart still carrying lull of evening song. The corridor stones had cooled under night air, exhaling day's stored heat in long sighs. With each barefoot step you felt warmth swirl upward through arches and dissipate, replaced by a silky chill riding the drafts between doorways. That chill tasted faintly of mountain snowmelt and distant pine resin, as though Tacitus itself had breathed into every unlatched shutter. Now you stand upon the northern parapet, spear butt planted between sandaled feet, cloak clasped across, chest toward breeze. Below, the city lies quilted in moonlight, rooftops tide-lapped in silver, alleyways inked indigo, courtyards glowing like quiet lanterns where stray coals still smolder beneath clay ovens. Occasional torches burn near gate towers, their flames quelled to thin tulips of amber by damp air. Between those timid flares, darkness flows uninterrupted, granting night her rightful dominion. The fellow sentinel, a youth named Platon, whose laughter colored many training breaks, paces 7 steps to your right. His spear drags gentle scratch along stone as he turns, the whisper so soft it might be a moth's wing brushing papyrus. He keeps conversation minimal, an unspoken etiquette of midnight duty, but you sense his mind wandering, perhaps rehearsing tomorrow's spear drills or replaying recent spear contests where your throw landed near a target stake. Part of you wishes to share hush philosophy, how interior quiet can ease even sharpest vigil, but words could fracture stillness. So you allow silence to tutor him instead. Below parapet, olive groves rustle with low breezes. Moonlight paints every silvery leaf underside, creating impression of inverted day shimmering beneath canopy. At forest margin stands a solitary cypress taller than its kin, needle tips scratching constellations. Wind strums its narrow crown, coaxing faint flute notes that drift upward, mingle with hum of insects whose drone refuses to retire so long as temperature remains kind. Shifts like this reach. Beyond mere guard duty, they are rituals of intimacy, with valley's nocturnal pulse. You track stars across meridian. Note how Orion's shoulder almost kisses Cypress spire, how Pleiades slide behind dormitory roof. Each incremental movement of cosmos calibrates internal chronometer. Each subtle arc emphasizes continuity larger than drills and diets. This knowledge anchors hush within marrow, proving your calm is not self-contained, but synchronized to beating heart of world. Half an hour passes. Platon halts near you, whispers request for short patrol around inner wall. You nod, assume soul. Watch on parapet. His footsteps recede along walkway, fade behind turret. Alone, you lean elbows upon cool stone, let cloak slip open so chest meets crisp air. Breath slows. Lungs fill with lunar radiance. Exhale tapestry of frost-fine steam. You listen for heartbeat. It thumps soft drum, slower than sentinel's usual. Cadence almost slower than night itself, but strong. Moon triggers memories. Cypress sap aromatics from temple incense. Water ripple at midday spring. Kudos of instructor when arrow found center ring. These images knit themselves into gossamer quilt overlaying senses, lulling thought into half-dream state where boundaries blur. Yet part of you remains alert. Eyes sweep wall line, spot nothing but roaming cat patrolling for mice. It's sapphire. Eyes momentarily reflecting moon. Wind lifts again, stronger gusts, carrying hint of sea salt from Gulf of Laconia. That brine tang spurs vision of distant harbor Judæos docks, where masts groan under braided rope. Sails furled, lanterns swaying above sleeping gulls. You have never visited port, yet hush fosters dreamlike familiarity. Perhaps mind borrows memory from older Spartan or seafaring merchant, stitching yours into lineage of valley's collective unconscious. Spear butt taps ground once, grounding wonder. You scan orchard again. Nothing stirs beyond gentle leaf flicker. Under moon's dominion, training ground appears stage after theater darkens, staff rack shadows. Sand glints like powdered glass. Archery targets dimple with dew. The hush residing. Their all day is now visible, as though stillness condensed into shimmering film over every surface. Your gaze shifts skyward. A meteor flares brief dagger of green slicing black, then extinguishes. You appraise phenomenon not as omen, but as punctuation mark at sentence of cosmic narrative. Inhale, hold, exhale. Hush steadies further. Footsteps approach Platon, returning. He nods, gives thumbs up that gates and ramparts stand unbreached. You reciprocate with small salute, then resume paired pacing, each of you now speaking single. Quiet sentence about approaching cloud bank trailing across western rim. Cloud resembles lion crouching over mountain top. You watch as its mane unfurls, then fragments under upper winds, scattering luminous gauze across starfield. Conversation ends there, comfortable. Minutes drift. Your shift nearly done. Relief pair will arrive soon, bringing torch sputter and slight bustle of strap buckles. You prepare to descend walkway, adjust cloak, test spear grip, rotate shoulders to loosen tension. Yet before duty ends, hush offers final gift sounds so subtle you almost miss soft. Rhythmic tapping rising from city's artisan quarter. First you imagine Potter knocking lid onto kill, but pattern repeats too regular. Tap, 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 tap. Morse of swords. No closer to looms shuttle striking wood, but looms rest at night. You focus trace source, not craft at all, but heartbeats of valley layered through stone, amplified by moon, delivered to parapet as code of existence. Realization widened smile. You stand taller, breathing code back into world. Inhale long double beat, exhale single glide, repeating. For a few seconds, you and Valley converse in language older than words, founded on shared hush. Then clatter of boots behind breaks communion relief is here. Two fresh sentinels greet. You brief them quiet night, no anomalies and past spear. To next shift, cloak remains. Warmth unnecessary for dormitory. Descending stone steps, you feel hush follow footfalls down walkway, through corridor into straw-scented hall. Most trainees still asleep. Few stir, prepping for impending guard. They nod as you tiptoe across floorboards. Straw pallet welcomes. You lower self gingerly to avoid waking neighbor. Cloak drapes, cocooning warmth. Spear calluses ache pleasantly. Eyes close. Hush cranes neck inside head, curls around hippocampus. It whispers, rest quickly, dawn will call soon again. But for now, fold into velvet creases of Valley's cyclical comfort. Sleep returns almost instantly, but unlike earlier chapters, deep marrows, this sleep is luminous, tinted moon silver. Dream picks up where watch left, orchard bathed in lunar cream, meteor shards weaving cloth across sky, valley heart tapping code into bones. You float above orchard, listening, tap, 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 tap. In dream you answer by guiding footsteps. A long, invisible walkway of stars, each footfall sending hush ripples across cosmos. Distant rooster crows, not yet, still early. Birds call filters into dreamscape as far thunder fading. You drift further, beyond orchard to river, seeing plankton spiral illuminated by moon, replicating arrow flights. Spiral expands until enveloping sky. You float inside helix of light, neither falling nor flying, bound by hush acting as gravity and wings simultaneously. Time loses coherence. Meteor becomes arrow, arrow becomes staff, staff becomes cypress spire reaching for dawn. Then hush dims edges, scene dissolves. Only sensation of safe spin remains gentle centrifuge pressing calm into every cell. Sleep deepens dot before chapter. Ends dawn's faint blush ghosts along window slit, painting line across palette like blade of purest gold. It nudges eyes halfway open, then allows them closure again, satisfied to wait. Rest will continue until next roster summons at sunrise, when hush, fully replenished, will cross threshold again to guide body through tasks of chapter 11. For now, Valley holds breath in perfect midnightly quiet, and you, traveler sentinel, float inside it, spewing not one drop of tension, drawing not one sharp breath, only endless moonlit hush. The horizon blushes with a color too shy for day and too brazen for night, the tender rose of pre-sunrise, when the world holds its breath in quiet expectation. Inside the agōgē dormitory, the hush nurtured through moonlit watch still lingers, suspended like fine dust in a shaft of dawn light. Your body, recently returned to straw, senses the subtle warming of air and the softening of shadows. REM's gossamer threads loosen, and awareness floats to the surface like a lotus blooming through still pond water dot. No summons arrives. Instinct alone cues waking. You open eyes a finger's width, observing ceiling beams slowly reveal brown grain under diffusing light. The hall remains hushed breaths drift in steady polyphony, punctuated by an occasional turn and straw or sigh of restful release. You rise on one elbow, careful not to jar neighbor's slumber, then sit cross-legged, letting blanket fall too. Waist, cool air kisses warm skin, and you welcome sensation as silent blessing of rebirth. Morning ritual begins with breath. Inhale through nostrils 4 counts, tracing air as it slicks throat, branches and lungs, presses gently outward against. Ribs, hold 2. Exhale 5, releasing residual tension pooled behind sternum. After 3 cycles, body reads awake but not alarmed. Palms brush straw, collecting lavender fragments clinging to linen tunic. Fingers roll sprig between thumb and forefinger. Scent bursts clean, herbaceous, slightly sweet instant reminder of yesterday's olive grove siesta and deeper memory of fields beyond. Erotis, where lavender grows among weathered stones, you stand. Knees flex without protest, testament to steady hush woven through drills and watch. Blanket folded, palette smooth gesture honors straw's loyalty. Across hall, first candle springs alive. Night watch has struck flame to taper, signaling communal rise. Flame's reflection blooms in half-opened eyes around room, and gradually silhouettes sit up, yawn, stretch. Yet voices remain muted, as though hush has signed treaty with dawn conversation shall wait until sun fully crowns ridge dot and corridor. Dawn air smells of damp clay, yeast, and faint smoke. Trainees file toward courtyard where buckets of river-drawn water wait. You cup hands under ladle, splash face. Frigid shock jerks eyelids wide, sharpening edges of beam, stone, sky. A second splash sluices sleep from collarbones down spine. Water pools around sandals, darker patching sun-bleached flagstone until breeze dries it like ink vanishing from parchment. Instructor. Appears sun-kissed older man whose voice seldom exceeds mezzo piano. He raises palm, points east. Entire cohort faces horizon. Over Tegetus peaks, dawn's palette now includes gold at its core, radiating outward into apricot and lilac. Instructor signals breath exercise. Arms sweep out with inhale, sweep in. With exhale, palms attracting and dispersing invisible warmth. 20 cycles later, chest tingles gently, blood humming with anticipation rather than urgency. Breakfast smells drift from mess hall barley flatbread. Goat milk porridge simmered. With cinnamon, figs warmed just enough to caramelize edges. Group disperses. You join queue, receive wooden bowl brimming with porridge, subtly sweet and smoky. At wall bench you eat slowly, spoon scraping quiet rhythms. Each bite delivers layered comfort. Grain earthiness merges with spice, merging with memory of mothers. Hearth though years distant, final swirls of milk coat tongue. Hunger dissolves, replaced by gently expanding vigor. Today's first drill will not involve weapons, but bodies alone palestra grappling. Discipline where hush faces its fiercest opponent, adrenaline. Instructor gathers cohort on sand still, cool from night. You pair with Platon, a nod of mutual respect. Exercises begin with stance balancing, each attempting to unseat opponent using minimal force, relying on center of gravity manipulations. Feet shuffle, sand hisses, but hush persists inside marrow. You sense Platon's weight shift microseconds ahead by reading minute vibrations through clasped forearms. At decisive moment, you pivot hip, redirecting his momentum. He topples softly. Sand muffles fall. He laughs short, low and hush absorbs sound, transforming it into camaraderie rather than disruption. After grappling, shielding drill returns, now blended with sprint intervals. Columns form, shields lock. At whistle, group advances fast. Halts, rotates shields outward to mimic flanking defense. Heat quickly rises and breath shorten. Hush wages gentle campaign. Each inhale tempered by silent mantra soft, each exhale steady. Muscles obey, motions remain fluid, free of frantic energy. Instructor nods approval, marking progress. Mid-morning sunlight intensifies. Sweat pearls along jawline, trickles down spine. Drink break granted. You approach bucket, dip ladle, drink. Deeply, water tastes of river stone and faint algae, cool enough to still racing pulse. Shade near barrack wall offers respite. There you lean, feeling stone's calm seeping through tunic. Balancing sun's fire dot next. Tactical puzzle. Cohort. Must transport heavy log across obstacle field using only rope loops and cooperation. Hush proves crucial shouted commands replaced by sign language. 2 fingers point left. Fist means halt. Palm rotating calls pace adjustment. With minimal speech, team hoists weight. Navigates low wall. Ducking. Weaving through stakes. Strain. Surges in thighs and shoulders, but calm coordination converts burden into group rhythm. At finish line, log thuds onto sand, raising dust plume that glitters in sun. Instructor times effort best of season. A bell chimes from city square market. Beginning. Training pauses, free hour granted before midday meal. You and Clayton wander toward Agra, coins clinking in small pouch. Streets bustle quietly. Vendors still arrange produce, pots, textiles. Hush threads between footfalls, craning over counters. Laden with bright pomegranates, earthen jars of thyme honey, coils of dyed wool. You purchase handful of almonds roasted with salt flavor sharp, yet soothing sharing with. Clayton as gratitude for partnership dot at bookstall near Stoa. An elderly scribe unrolls parchment map of Peloponnese, lines crisp as morning breeze. You study river paths, mountain passes, recognizing sparrow flight loops you've dreamed, walked. Memory momentarily toggles between waking sight and dream topography. Both maps align, reinforcing Hush's teaching, inside and outside realms mirror. When attention unclouded, horn sounds from barrack lynching call. You and Clayton trot back, sandals thudding hollow on portico. Mess hall hum filled with hungry anticipation but tempered by midday lethargy. Today's fare, lentil cabbage stew enriched with lamb bits, coarse barley bread, generous drizzle. Of olive oil, bowl warms palms, aroma of bay leaf and roasted marrow floats. You eat as earlier mindful, measured savoring interplay of textures, olive oil slicks surface of stew. Spoon dips, emerges shining. Each mouthful glides down throat. Lubricating fatigue. Post-meal siesta declared sensible concession to sun's tyranny. Trainees fan out under porticos, in olive groves, along dormitory shadows. You choose temple courtyard where Artemis statue casts them triangle shade across marble bench. Reclining, back supported by cool stone, you close eyes. Cicadas hammer. Metallic whir. Rather than jar, rhythm soothes like distant rain. Breath lengthens, world dissolves to pulses of heat, perfume of cypress, faint clack of dice game somewhere. Sleep emerges, shallow yet restorative. Hush cradles dreamless drift. Bell tolls one, clear tone signaling afternoon lecture on Spartan law. Held in areola to south. Waking feels gradual, like surfacing from underwater valley. You stretch, stand, pace to Allah where benches line. Sun-dappled floor, instructor unrolls parchment containing Lycurgus's retros. Lecture delivered in calm cadence. Hush allows words to settle into memory rather than bounce. Notes etched on wax tablet. Equality of mess. Morality via scarcity. Currency iron not silver. Yet your focus not academic alone. You watch how Hush inhabits instructors' pauses, enabling ideas to resonate. Edge of sun touches. Western Ridge. Training resumes briefly for light spear throw practice. Muscles appreciate elongated shadow cool ground. Throw spin arcs smeared by breeze, landing with satisfying thunk. You refine elbow angle, release timing, feeling Hush guide micro adjustments. Several spears cluster near stake center. Satisfaction blooms, but ego kept quiet by Hush's firm hands. Evening's golden hour crowns valley. Trainees dismissed too. Personal chores. You accompany small team to gather kindling from orchard fringes fallen olive branches dry under sun. Each step across leaf litter pops faint cracks. Hush molds them into soft percussion beneath conversation about tomorrows. Track run. Bundles loaded onto carts, wheeled to kitchen. Mess hall dinner erupts with roasted quail. Garlic herb porridge, stewed figs, bowl of thick goat yogurt salted lightly. Lanterns ignite, flicker across faces flush with fatigue and pride mixture. Song arises spontaneously, Aegean sailor shanty, adopted by Spartans for its steady rhythm. Voices intertwine, hush does not resist. It modulates, shaping song into gentle lullaby. You sing quietly, feeling vibration in chest, echoing valley heart. Night falls. Crickets resume roll, stars leap free from horizon. Roll call complete. Dormitory lights dim. Sleep beckons, but tonight hush invites extra ritual. Stargazing meditation atop roof. Use some water with Platon and 2 others. Roof tiles warm at first, but cooling swiftly. Cloak wraps shoulders. You lie back, spine. Against curved terracotta, eyes open wide. Milky Way smears overhead like alabaster river. Constellations pulse. Skia, the river of souls. Hunter twin. Each star flickers ancient code, perhaps same taps you heard on watch. You breathe it in. Hush expands to cosmic scale. Roof companions. Quiet, lost in private awe. Minutes or centuries pass. Coolness deepens, eyelashes gather dew. Group descends ladder one by one. You linger last, imprinting star map upon memory. Eventually climb down, tiptoe through corridor, find palette. Blanket draws over shoulders. Straw creaks soft acceptance. Hush swims inside chest, around ribs. Weaving day's threads into tapestry of calm. Before sleep claims, you recall Chapter 1's straw dawn. Chapter 5's temple oil, Chapter 9's midday run. They connect, forming path shaped like infinity. Symbol where each experience feeds next. Smile rises. Hush kisses brow, whispering, journey continues. You exhale gratitude. Eyes close. Dreams stir, olive leaves swirling into starfield. Spearheads twinkling across night. Hush flowing like river beneath each scene. Sleep deepens. Tomorrow will request your strength again, but hush ensures strength will return replenished. New, for now traveler, slide under moonlit waves of slumber. Let Chapter 11 meld into night's vast ledger while Cosmos scribes silence across turning earth. The third dawn since our tale began rises with subtle difference. An almost imperceptible silver tone lying beneath the usual amber notes of sunrise. Like a flute drifting under a familiar hymn, the season is shifting. Nights linger a heartbeat. Longer, mornings retain a crispness that tastes of distant mountain snow. Yet Bahashi of culture through drills, vigils, and riverbank reveries slips easily into this new timbre, adapting as water adapts to the shape of its vessel dot inside the dormitory. That hush sits at the foot of each pallet like a quiet guardian, smoothing the transition from sleep's deep sea to waking shallow tide. Your eyes flutter open, greeted not by a fellow sentinel's ankle tap, nor by instructor's call, but by dawn's own invitation. A single bar of pearl light slanted through high window slit, brushing cheek with gossamer chill. You rise, joints murmuring surprise at cooler air, and wrap cloak around shoulders before straw has finished sighing your departure. No formal duty before breakfast. An unexpected gift earned by yesterday's exceptional drill scores. You cross corridor barefoot, letting solace memorize the new temperature of Flagstone's cooler, but still carrying faint echo of yesterday's sun. Outside, the courtyard yawns wide and empty, stones misstamp and shimmering faintly. You inhale, and breath condenses as slender cloud first visible plume of seasons turn. Exhale follows, twinning the first, and soon the two clouds mingle, dissolving into dawn. Hush. Mess hall hearth roars brighter than usual, cooks compensating for chill. Porridge today glows golden, enriched with dried apricots steeped overnight, and honey and wine. A ladleful lands in your bowl with wet plop. Steam coils upward, swirling apricot fragrance into nostrils. Seating yourself near a wall where sun will arrive soon, you eat slowly. Warmth slides down throat, pooling behind sternum like small sun, radiating outward until fingers no longer tuck inside cloak. After breakfast, instructor announces half-day march beyond city walls, an orientation trek for newer trainees, and a stamina tempering for all. Not a punitive forced march, but a calm procession through olive terraces, vineyards, and up to ridge where oracle stones watch valley. You gather kit, cloak, water skin, portion of barley bread, and your ever faithful. Hush, spear, and shield remain. Today calls for a lighter step. Column assembles by northern date. Sun still low, paints helmets and hair with mother of pearl glow. Gates squeal open. City breathes cohort into countryside. Path begins wide and gradual, lined with fig trees now yellowing at edges. Figs hang soft, some splitting to reveal ruby flesh. Wasps drowse inside sweetness. The hush of morning stroll threads around gentle chatter, wrapping voices in velvet so laughter emerges as subdued bells instead of clanging gongs. Soon path narrows, ascending among terraces stacked by dry stone walls. Olive trunks here twist, like ancient dancers, bark silvered by age, limbs still heavy with fruit hardened against early chill. Leaves flutter, exposing pale undersides whenever breeze slides from gorge. Wind carries resin and hint of wood smoke from shepherd hut unseen. You walk in middle ranks, footfalls matching Platon's once more. Conversation drifts to map studied yesterday. Valley passes etched on wax tablet, philosophy lecture rumored. For evening, words rise like larks, circle, perch upon hush, never startling it. Halfway mark, shallow spring sheltered by home oak. Instructor calls halt. Cohort disperses among rocks carpeted in time. You kneel, cupping water crystal clear. Sip twice taste cooler than river, edged with mineral that wakes tongue. Around you others refill skins, splash faces, speak softly. Oak branches overhead knit together, casting latticework of light across group. Pattern shifts with breeze, resembled spiderweb woven of sun threads. You tilt head back, letting warm. Squares of light migrate across eyelids. Each square a tiny hearthtop march resumes. Track steeper now, zigzagging up ridge dotted with low rosemary shrubs. Breath quickens. Hush steadies rhythm, ensuring lungs draw deeply rather than gasp. Muscles protest initial gradient, then settle into mechanical grace calves stretch. Heels roll, cloak sways. Conversation ebbs, replaced by collective cadence of crunching gravel, rustling linen, measured exhalations. Hush thrums like bass string beneath this percussive orchestra dot at ridge crests, stands a circle of knee-high stones, weather bleached and lichen speckled, the oracle site used by shepherds and wanderers more than priests. Instructor signals. Break in silent reflection. Each trainee may traverse circle alone, carrying internal question to wind for answer. One by one, companions step into ring, pause, exit, your turn. Cloak billows as you cross threshold. Inside, hush deepens. Wind threads between stones, whispering sibilant counsel. You close eyes, asking nothing yet welcoming everything. In stillness, arises simple insight. Hush itself is answer, regardless question. You bow to stones and step out, lunch eaten on ridge, barley bread, sliver of goat cheese, handful of almonds. Valley sprawls below Eurota's shimmering. Sparta's rooftops like terracotta shingles of resting dragon, vineyards striped green and yellow. Clouds gather west, puffing white towers shot with gray. Sun slides behind one, painting land with. Moving shadow ship valley sails beneath sky ocean dot. Return march begins down alternate trail, narrower and rockier, requiring balance and focus. Hush becomes tether, each careful placement of sandal guided by intangible line from navel to earth. A slip would shout into stillness, none occur. At trail foot cluster of cypress offers shade. Instructor orders 5-minute meditative stand. Simply breathe with trees. You align spine with trunk, palms flat against rough bark radiating captured heat. Pulses interlock, sap sluggish but unceasing, blood brisk but calm. When call to move arrives, part of you remains inside Cyprus, anchored dock gate, welcome cohort. Mid-afternoon, city warmer than ridgeline. Still, seasons turning wingers, leaving sunlight crisp rather than heavy. Free hour declared before resuming duties. You head to writing porch behind library, craving quill and scrap to record oracle hush. Scribe's apprentice lends reed pen, ink distilled from oak galls. You sit cross-legged under pergola vines, shading leaves aflame with early autumn blush. Words flow, not journal of events but cadence captured. Footfalls sift gravel like prayer beads. Olive leaves reveal kingdom of undersides. Ink dries fast, papyrus curls slightly. Apprentice offers weight to flatten. You think with almond from ridgesnack.next philosophy lecture inside Alla as rumored. Elder scholar in wool wraps discourses on ataraxia, tranquility of soul aligned with reason. His voice rises above hush yet celebrates it, quoting lines. Freedom from disturbance is not the fleeing of sensation, but the mastery of response. You note parallels. Hush, not flight from drill, but posture of breath placed before action. Scholars' eyes gleam, seeing recognition ripple through you, and others dot evening shadows lengthen. Tasks lighten to communal chores. You assist kitchen in plucking thyme sprigs, their scent sharp and cleansing. Fingers resin sticky, you inhale bouquet, exhale into hush, feeling synergy earth's perfume inside calm interior field. Supper steams, chickpea pottage, roasted carrot, honey drizzled cheese curd. Benches buzzing but subdued by fatigue satisfaction, lanterns lit early. Cloud swallowed sunset, leaving cobalt sky. Instructor proposes optional river bath cold. Plunge to keep bodies resilient, you and small cohort accept. Torches borrowed, descent through orchard path. Night insects raise coral tapestry, cooler air boosting chiming clarity. Riverbank pebbles damp under solace. You strip to loincloth, step into water dark but sparkling where torch flecks scattered. Cold clamps calves, leaps to lungs. Hush braces shock, converting gasp to whispered hum. Submerged shoulders release heat of march. Mind sharpens, then smooths. Like polished flint. Floating on back, you watch stars drift between branch silhouettes, a moving map sliding across body of water. Emerging, skin tingles aflame, then settles. Cloak bundles warmth. Group ascends path, torches guttering in growing breeze. River hush remains inside chest cavity, a chill echo balancing hearth inside barrack. Footsteps echo on flagstone. Dormitory greets with straw fragrance once more. Before, sleep instructor addresses hall. Tomorrow, pre-dawn march with full kit last day mid-trial. Prior harvest festival rest day. Murmur sweeps room mix of anticipation and trepidation, but hush you foster steady's pulse. Blanket drawn, lamp extinguished. Straw accepts exhausted limbs. Breath deep, heart slow. Hush expands through tired sinew, binding micro tears from march. Oiling joints strained on rocky descent, dot eyes close, but mind drifts one last time to Oracle Ridge. You see circle of stones, feel wind weave, taste mineral spring. Questionless, answer echoes. Carry silence, and silence will carry you. Words dissolve into humming emptiness. Dream descends, cypress roots intertwine with veins. Stars become almond blossoms drifting across moonlit path. River flows inside arteries, humming ataraxia's chorus. Night passes like soft page turned by unseen scholar. Hush reads each line. In perfect, unhurried cadence. Sleep deep, traveler. Dawn's chilled silver will return soon to paint spears and helmets anew. And chapter 13 will unfold final lullaby beneath harvest moon. For now, rest inside hush matured across 12. Chapters in inner citadel no march, no season can breach. The harvest moon hangs swollen above Tagetis, a luminous amphora brimming with pale gold. Its glow outshines the torchlight that flickers along Sparta's streets, painting every roof tile, spear tip, and laurel leaf with milk-bright lacquer. Tonight marks the close of training season and the eve of festival rest, a night for transition, gratitude, and deepest renewal. The hush cultivated through 12 chapters now rises to meet this lunar apex, swelling like tide drawn by silver gravity, ready to cradle body and spirit through one final descent into restorative. Dark 1, the moonlit assembly evening certainty, settles as trainees gather in the agōgē, kit newly polished for ceremonial march. Bronze cuirasses catch moon, scattering shards of light across stone, greaves gleam. Scarlet cloaks billow in faint breeze, scented with crushed grape skins from days pressing. Yet despite martial shine, voices remain muted, footsteps measured. As though every heart remembers Oracle Ridge teaching, carry silence and silence will carry you. Instructor cloak fringed but unadorned raises right hand. The cohort falls into column without clatter, shields resting edge down, spears upright. At a silent signal, the procession begins, weaving through lantern-lined lanes toward city's north gate. Drums are absent, cadence taken from breath, and hush. Onlookers line walls, mothers, artisans, yet they too speak softly, absorbing stillness as if it were sacrament. Children point at moonlit armor, but their excitement diffuses into reverent awe. Beyond the gate, the column enters olive terraces shimmering silver green. Trees stand sentinel, branches heavy with fruit, leaves reflecting twin lights of moon and city behind. Footfalls brush fallen leaves that crackle like soft parchment. Ahead, a gentle slope rises toward festival field where fires already smolder. Preparing to roast grain offerings at dawn, marchers scale hill with unhurried strength. Hush governs lungs, preventing ragged breath. Even as packs weigh shoulders dot at hillcrest, the cohort halts. Forming crescent-facing valley, instructor steps. Forward, spear butt planted in soil, and speaks only once. Behold the fruit of labor. Arms sweep, indicating sweeping Vista River shimmering like mercury ribbon. Vineyards stripped to skeleton vines, threshing yards blanketed under straw. Moonlight reveals each detail with dreamlike clarity. No torch can improve upon it. Point 2. Candlelight, a low table awaits, draped in linen, bearing brass tray of beeswax candles. One by one trainees approach, light wick from shared lantern, and plant candle into earthen basin filled with sand. Each flame symbolizes hour of exertion, of vigilance, of quiet victory over self. When your turn comes, you touch wick to lantern. Tongue. Flame leaps, small yet fierce, then steadies within hush. As you set candle among others, wax perfume mingles with rosemary smoke drifting from festival fires below. The instructor pours handful of barley into clay bowl, blesses it in ancient dialect, and scatters grains around candles. Grains land softly, pattering like gentle rain on dry forest floor. A final bow concludes rite. Cohort breaks formation, granted leave until dawn. 3. Quiet feast beneath the moon benches and low tables lumbered earlier now stand arranged around central hearth where spit turns slowly, lamb perfumed with bay and garlic. Yet this is not rowdy. Banquet. Festival tradition insists first meal be eaten in contemplative silence, honoring labor that filled granaries. You fill wooden plate, slice of roast, fist-sized loaf of honey bread, fistful of roasted chestnuts whose shells crack satisfyingly. Between fingers, seated upon woven mat, you eat deliberately. Each chew releases flavor that warms cheeks, ears, fingertips. Wine diluted with spring water tastes of apple skin and cool limestone. Its hush-friendly acidity sharpens senses without stirring frenzy. Around, you flicker candle rose, lamb fat spitting, cloak hem whispering when comrade shifts seat. Overhead, moon traces slow arc. Each minute its glow intensifies hush, compressing worldly details into gentle blur. When plate empties, you set it aside, palms to thighs, spine lengthened, eyes half closed. Stomach settles into pleasant weight. Pulse slows to resting cadence. 4. Harvest fire meditation at midnight instructor. Leads small group volunteers seeking deeper quiet to threshing yard where a giant mound of straw awaits ceremonial burn. Torches touch base. Flame creeps, climbs, blossoms into wall of amber that roars yet paradoxically deepens surrounding silence. Crackle and hiss become white noise, masking idle thoughts. You stand at safe distance, eyelids lowered, feeling heat. Stroke cheeks, hearing seeds pop like distant rain on leather roof. Firelight paints inner vision with molten oranges, maroons. Then white gold colors pulse in time with breath dot as straw collapses into glowing pyramid. Instructor chants single. Continuous tone of hum pitched between bee and distant horn. Cohort joins softly. Communal vibration floats above fire, weaving with smoke columns that twist into night sky. Hum resonates sternum, vertebrae, skull bones. Hush merges with tone, vibrating tension away. When fire subsides to embers, hum fades naturally, each voice falling out like stars winking pre-dawn, leaving pervasive calm. 5. Moon bath at the river long before cockcrow. You and Platon slip away down moon-bleached path to Eurota's bank, fulfilling pact to mark season's end with quiet immersion. Cloak shed, you wade shallow, then plunge. Water startlingly colder than previous nights, stills breath for. Heartbeat then returns at doubled calm. Moon lays silver ladder across surface. Lying on back, you drift along rungs of light, arms out, ears submerged. Hearing internal drum of pulse mingled with muffled ripples. Looking up, you see moon dissolve into ripples, star points dance. Vision blurs into field of luminescent grains, reminiscent of bioluminescent plankton glimpsed chapters ago. Body oscillates between chill and warmth. Water steals heat. Hush returns it as tranquil courage. When lips numb, you flip. Stroke to shore, dress swiftly. Tingling skin alive. Senses razor clear, yet deeply relaxed. *6. Returning to straw paths back to dormitory glow with dying festival fires. Guitar-like formings now accompanies soft singing, but hushness between notes. You step inside hall where candles burn low. Straw pallets call weary muscles, but the hush still pulses high, wanting final integration. Before lying down, you sit cross-legged, close eyes, and replace seasoned straw dawns. Sentinel midnights, oracle breezes, rich marshes, spear arcs, chilly river breaths. Each memory appears like candle flame, flickers, then pours wax of experience. Into mold of character. You whisper, barely audible, thank you, to muscles, to valley, to hush. Then, lowering gently onto straw, you draw a blanket and feel breath align with harvest moon's final angle. Outside, moon will soon dip behind. Ridge, handing valley back to sun. Inside, your body yields to weightless drift. *7. Epilogue. The infinite hush sleep arrives as warm shadow of cedar, lavender, beeswax, and distant drums all blending into single note so low it becomes pure vibration. Dreams weave, cypress roots. Anchor heart. Harvest fires sparks lift into starfield. Candles merge into heliacal river. In dream you walk along that river, each step sending rings that spread forever. Somewhere beyond dream, dawn slip hints sky pale peach. Rooster chirps. Tentative. Instructor will call soon for final tally before rest day's sunrise devotions. But for this one slice of timeless dark, hush owns you fully. No drills, no watch, no run. Only endless cradle of calm. And as the first gold blade peaks above horizon, hush, ancient, patient, and newly minted within marrow, whispers last blessing. Rise gentle, warrior of quiet. The world is noisy enough. Carry me, and peace will bloom wherever your footfall lands. You inhale, half awake, tasting promise of bread baking for festival. Exhale, fully anchored, ready to meet fresh sun. Yet, even as lids lift, hush remains not as story's backdrop, but as living companion. Chapter 13 ends, but legend of silence marches on with each breath you offer it. Each dawn it offers you, sleep's final embers fade, eyes open upon harvest morning. Sparta bustles, bells chime, children laugh but inside, hush sings low, steady, indomitable. And so our saga closes not with thunderous salute, but with quiet smile, knowing tranquility has become tradition, woven into fabric of days, ready to guide all journeys yet to come.